we've made like a audio capsule, like a time capsule in a certain way of what the Enneagram can be.
I mean, the Enneagram isn't a therapy.
Right.
It's a deadly accurate diagnostic tool to define and describe your hell.
Yeah, freaks are the only things that keep the Enneagram interesting to me. Just weirdos.
Wild morons in the wild. It's just like, these are the most fixated people ever. You know what I'm saying?
The big hormone Enneagram.
I'm John Lekovich, 415, sexual self-pres, 458 trifix.
I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual, 9 with 1 wing, 974 trifix.
What up, it's Emeka. I'm an 8-wing 7, sexual self-pres with 854 fixes.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a social self-preservation 9-wing 1, 963 trifix.
Like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify, and leave us a review. If you want to support the show with a donation, you can find us on Venmo at Big Hormone and paypal.me/Big Hormone.
I thought that episode was great. I finished listening to it yesterday, and I was like, damn, that was awesome.
I haven't finished it, but it was good.
I haven't checked it out. I need to check it out.
The thing you said to me about discarding and trying to refine was like, I haven't quite integrated that, but I was like dead on. Like when you said it and then re-listening to it, I was like, damn, something about that nails it.
What was it? Say it.
There was something Emeka was saying about, I'm going to paraphrase, this is my way of putting it, but like basically like the core of identity that 4 is like trying to figure out or trying to relate to is inherently mysterious and unknowable directly. And that there is a way, because of the 5 wing, that I'm constantly, whatever like image or idea of identity comes up to express that, I have to like, that is always inadequate, and so I have to discard it and keep finding it again. And there's something about that is so right. And Emeka just articulated it really beautifully in that last episode we did, and it was just like, I haven't quite integrated it, but
there's something there, yeah.
Bullseye. Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm getting at when I keep mentioning the metaphor or whatever of just sand running through your hands kind of thing. Just you can't. There's not a solid thing that stays. In a form.
Yeah, I mean, Alexandra's used that God particle from the show Dark plenty of times before, but the way you framed it conceptually, Emeka, like made that make more sense. Like how already had the impression of it, the aesthetic impression, but then the conceptualization was like, fuck, like it really got to it.
Yeah. No, I've been, I don't know, maybe like the last year or so, just thinking about like the 4-5 stem, and I don't know if there's much on it, but there is that sort of like, what is it thing about going into the cave and just like what's going to happen, and then that sense that you can't leave with anything that you came in with, or you can't actually. And so I think there's something about 5 and 4 where you can't stay completely aware of the form that you've made.
Yeah,
and
there's
so
a certain like identity object constancy thing.
Yeah, so it's a.
Yeah, that's why like Osiris is an archetype, and even Orpheus too like resonate with me, because they're both about this like death and rebirth, or like going into the underworld and coming back in a different way. Like this sense of I can never fully hold on to what I think I am. It's always kind of in the dark, and it's always sort of changing as soon as I look at it.
And Osiris got chopped into a bunch of pieces, right? So there's that anti-wholeness.
Exactly.
Yeah, Alexander, you made a point. I don't know if I've seen this in a TV show or it was a dream or something, but there is like this sort of character or thing that if you look at it,
Oh, the
it
Heisenberg
changes.
principle? Mm-hmm.
And like it'll never be the same thing. You like, so it's the thing.
As soon as after it's witnessed or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, like one thing I think maybe this was part of a dream where it's like from the corner of your eye you can make out kind of what it is, but then as soon as you look, it's not what you thought it was. And then you look away, and from the corner of your eye you can sort of like make it out like, oh, I think that's, and then you look and it's not that. And then you keep
what did
looking.
You call it, Alexandra? What was that phrase?
I thought it was the Heisenberg thing. Well, I don't actually know if that's what it is, but I know that there is some like physics thing that is like like a energy observed changes.
Oh yeah,
Heisenberg,
the moment that it's observed. Yeah, but I think you're talking about something like similar, but not quite the same, Emeka.
Yeah,
but it totally works. It completely works.
I'm not sure if I've seen it in a TV show or if this is a dream, but there's something about that. Where you can never actually, you have an idea of it, like you have a sense of it, or there's an image, but it's always morphing to some degree once you look at it. But I mean, but with that being said, it's not like completely unaware that there is some kind of like form of like a memory of something that like you kind of have an idea, but it's not completely formed like, 4-3 where you have like a distinct design and you kind of like it's set. There's like a mystical kind of sense of something, but it's just not in one location,
That's interesting.
Yeah, that really resonates.
Yeah, that whole concept around forming 5, I think, is just so interesting and true. Of just like this like held sense of identity is meant to be experienced from like inside its own chest or something like that. Like as soon as it gets expressed, it's just like, that's not it anymore. Out again,
Right.
Just like the moment it's expressed, the moment it's witnessed in a certain way, it's just like, that must not be it. Gotta find it again.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like once it's expressed, that becomes its own separate thing.
Right.
Like that.
It's separate,
Like that
it's
moment.
Detached. It becomes detached,
It's just contained to that thing. So it's like, I have to watch this sort of like, where it feels like, you're just starting over. You have to sort of create the new point now.
It's almost like you ruined it because you expressed it.
Yeah.
God, that really lands from my experience with the forming 5.
Well, being with
and it's interesting because from a 3 fixed perspective, it's just like this is like the truth, and like nothing can change it about this. Like sure, it can like morph and it can adapt and it can whatever, but it's like if this is like what's on the inside, this is like what has to come out because it's true. This is like what is true, and it's gonna last, and nothing can shake it, and like.
But you can never describe all its
ready to be birthed.
Part of the problem. You can never describe all of its qualities as part of the problem.
That's true. Yeah.
And all your experience of its qualities.
Oh. I mean, I think the 4-3 version of that, because I mean, it is still like a mysterious thing. The tension can be that, all right, so I created this thing, this design is distinct, and people respond to it. And there's some awareness of the map and people and what people like and what people respond to. And then so people say, oh, wait, we like that. We like this thing that you did. Like, Prince puts out an album and people love it. And it's like, and so as soon as people like affirm that they like it, you're like, ew. No,
right.
Like
what's wrong with that it can be consumed by so many?
Because that's not even the full story. Like you just did something that was distinct, but it's like it's not really the full thing. And so people are like, "Oh yeah, we love that. Let's you do more of that." And so the 4 is like, "Oh, you guys are so shallow and just completely like dumb." And like I just did this like a fraction of the thing, and you think it's great. Like you're stupid, and just move on to the next, thing. So it's a little bit more reactive to like, you guys like that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's almost 6-ish. It's got the attachment piece of 3, but the reactivity of 4, and it needs to say that you got it wrong more or something. The 4-3 thing.
It sure does. Yeah.
I saw somebody made a comment on the because Spotify allows you to make comments on episodes now.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, look, if you go on any of the episodes, you can see the comments that people have left. I don't think it's just me who can see that. I think everyone can see it. But somebody made a comment like, oh, this podcast used to be good. Go listen to the old episodes. And
fuck you.
I just remember thinking to myself, it's like we've gotten so much better in so many facets, but what they're really saying is they're like hits. Like, you know, our hits are like the trifix roast episodes or anything on instincts. Like, you know, some of the most popular episodes we've ever done were like the sexual social versus sexual self-pres episode. It's like still one of the most listened to episodes, which doesn't make any sense to me, but it's like anything that's like basic distinctions, anything like roast and instincts. That's what people want. They're not necessarily interested in the deep new shit that we've come up with or anything like that. So it's kind of like, you know, like a musician or a band who's like, you know, your hits, the stuff that people want to pay you for isn't your best work.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But that's what they want.
The response to that person's comment is, "You lack any kind of sophistication. You
at
fucking
all.
Basic bitch." Whoever posted that, know that that's our response to you.
We've done too,
and you'll be able to appreciate us more.
We are getting
weak
like,
bitch.
I mean, we have our obnoxious features for sure. We acknowledge them, but we get so deep into things.
Right.
Yeah, what's going on with my internet? Let me check something.
Yeah. I'm gonna go make a drink. I'll make a drink.
Okay. David, are you under some sort of influence right now?
Yeah, I've got the dual
You're just raw dogging
beer and
the podcast. Okay.
Yeah, just
what did I?
Yeah. What?
I don't know what I could have expected.
What?
I falsely was like, you know, David's probably just
turned over
coming into this in like a holistic, organic way.
Organic?
That was so silly of me. Yeah, that was so misguided of me.
I think all of these are organic.
Where did Emeka go?
He was mixing a drink.
Okay.
What have I had drink-wise? I've had a beer, a big one, well, a strong one, and then I had a margarita, and now I'm drinking wine.
Oh.
So I'm in a happy place. Feeling a little bombastic. I'm going to probably insult all of you.
Perfect. That's ideal.
I was told that I came off more assertive in the last podcast, so I'm just going to go ahead and dominate all of you.
I think you've been assertive in most of the recent ones.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, it's appreciated. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, David. That's so nice.
Well, I mean...
That's so sweet of you.
You know how I like women to be.
That's true. You do like a strong woman.
Robust.
That's so true.
Busty with their robustness.
Oh, yeah. Well, perfect.
Well,
I'm a perfect addition to this podcast then. I have both qualities.
I don't mean to objectify anybody, but
I've been on a podcast of 3 social blinds and have been with a social blind for the past 4.5 years. I think I've gotten pretty comfortable with that.
With just total objectification.
The objectification of all of my
accoutrements.
Accoutrements.
Yes.
All of my
your pendulous accoutrements.
Both physical and personality wise, and yeah. I see what a gift I am now.
Well, that is...
Now don't start getting shy. It's all right. There's no need to be shy.
No need to be shy about complimenting you. In other words, I should keep complimenting you.
Yeah. As a 3-wing 4-fixer, I am available to praise.
Oh, let's see. What else? Well, I'd like to see some more of your theoretical material. You had some particular strong the Alexandra hits. I was just thinking the other day about the one. What was the one about how you did the stackings? You know, the second instinct.
Oh yeah,
affecting the first.
Activation.
What was that one, real quick?
Yes, the supporting or whatever I said.
What's an example?
Well,
like
how?
SPSX,
Okay, so how?
For example, the best
sexual,
stacking. What is
how
is
a
that
sexual
one?
middle sexualizes the self-pres instinct to make it stronger.
Oh,
it strengthens the middle instinct, strengthens the dominant instinct.
There you go.
In its own particular flavor. Yes, that's one of my creative genius moments.
One of your hits. Just bringing up all the Alexandra as the 3-wing 4.
I've got more of
was
that.
needing some praise for all of her various.
He's the only 3-fix here who needs applause.
Yeah.
I deserve applause. So
See, this thing, beautiful thing
Give
about
it
being
to me.
fixed. We don't need applause. We already know.
listen,
We already know.
Do you know? I don't know. Do you know why you guys so withdrawn? If you know, come
Because
out, receive your applause.
No. We stay in because
No,
we're
you're just
good.
hiding in your little
We're
scared
good.
cave.
I've got,
You're hiding away
we've got
like
the 7 fix
fucking
here that does
scared little
want-
bunnies. Come on, roar like a lion, you fucking
Nah.
bitches.
Self-contained
I'm here
self-esteem.
to come out. I'm a genius. I'm a beautiful genius.
Beautiful.
Say
Not
it
just
to
a
me.
genius.
If you got to
but
say it, it's not true.
I'm here to receive it.
You're
I'm here to
overcompensating.
receive it. Emeka,
Overcompensating
just do what you're
for-
You know
supposed
what?
to
You know
do.
what?
Come
You
on.
know what? My reality is, I
Say it.
came out
Listen,
a genius.
You've edited
I've came
my
out
Emeka the
voice.
Great.
You've edited my genius. You've put me at the beginning of those podcast calls. Why? Because I'm glorious. Okay.
Oh.
Glory comes
Right.
from my voice. You're welcome.
Because I'm so benevolent. I'm all the way up here.
That's true.
I'm
You're
just
server.
handing out.
That's
handing
true.
out. Like, here you go. Here's some self-esteem
No,
for you
you're
because I
right.
know you need it. I know you need it. So here you go, little
All right. Okay,
little
that was
fledgling.
good. That was good. That was good. Yeah. That was good. I'll give it to you. Yeah. Server. Michael's teaching server energy.
Here you go.
No,
I
that
know
was
you
good.
need it.
Cancer rising.
It's
that
all
was really
good.
sweet.
Because I got plenty.
you, yeah.
I'm good over
I
here.
do. I don't know if that's true.
Wait till you
No,
guys hear
You're just
me
giving
and Kristen-
credit to what's due, which is
Me and Kristen
Right.
did a
Thanks.
recording. Well, the two that's the two Christ consciousness people.
Oh, okay.
So you
I'm
guys will be
so excited about that.
Cool.
Get the experience.
Oh yeah.
the
So
We're about
in-
to be transformed.
Someone on
Christy, I'm ready.
Instagram wrote me that was like about the banter at the beginning of the Four Wing podcast about like
What'd they say?
about Emeka and Alexandra, and they were like da 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 da, and I was like, that's their love language.
What do they say?
Oh, because of the
They were
bickering.
like having a problem with you
Oh, God,
being male and
Oh,
Oh,
God.
coming at
Yes,
me.
of course.
yeah, coming at Alexandra, and I was like,
Yeah.
Oh,
she's
please.
not a
I'm not-
fragile,
I'm not. No,
she's a
I'm
Puerto
not.
Rican.
We're,
Okay.
That's
Emeka's
right.
a misogynist.
That's right.
and
Yeah.
She throws
No,
hands.
that person is. Thank you for your protection. I don't need it. I could crush Emeka with one finger if I wanted to.
Right,
I've been
right.
protecting him this whole time. It's fine.
protecting
It's
him from
fine.
yourself. Yeah.
Yes, I've been
no,
protecting
but it's
him.
their love
I
language.
overwhelmed John. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
I'm good.
But that's
That's
their love-
that happened. Or go ahead.
but that's y'all's connection is roasting.
Yeah, it
each
is.
other.
It really is.
I mean, you don't even have to
roast each other.
justify it that way. Like, I think normal people should be able to take heat from each other. Like, we
I
remember
think
that
so, too,
fucking
yeah.
time when some little soy boy got on Facebook and started talking about how we weren't honoring what's her face's
Oh
voice,
my God.
Nancy's
Yeah.
voice.
I
Oh,
remember
Nancy's.
that. Oh
And
my God.
I stuffed my foot up his ass on Facebook about how he was
Oh
patronizing.
my God.
It's
Who
like
was that?
these women don't need you to fucking Captain Save a Ho try to, these fragile little bitches can't take. Shut up. I grew up with sisters.
Is that-
Just white knighted all over the place.
It's like, what are you
and-
saying? More than capable
Yeah.
of taking up space.
Yeah. hmm
Uh,
Yeah.
As a
And
male.
that's part of it. Like, if a man can't handle that, like, they're not a man.
It's like, this is
Boom.
not a safe, coddled space,
Yeah.
whatever podcast as a male.
Well, and also to give Alexandra her due.
I thought we
Alexander's-
just gave her more than she was due.
Yeah, but
Listen.
love with her, so
She'll
I
take
can't
as
give her
much
more.
as she can. She'll take as much as she can get.
I mean, she's badass fighter, and
Yeah.
she can fight, and she can do
fight.
it, and she can handle it,
She can handle it.
and she can
Mhm.
return it in spades.
If I thought you
True,
couldn't
yeah.
take it, I probably would leave
I
you
know.
alone.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah, I know. I do know that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
I'm not that
Yeah.
much of an asshole. I am somewhat aware of who can take
I
it and
know.
who can't.
I know. Yeah. 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 It's affection. Yeah.
I grew up, I mean, this is light. I grew up in a family where everybody gets roasted constantly. You fuck up once and you're getting roasted for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You just
Speaking of
genetically.
roasting, what little fruity drink are you drinking?
I have no shame in my game.
What?
You think you're gonna get me with that? I have no shame in my game.
No shame there. It's just like a funny quirk of your personality.
Italian. This is rum soda. Rum with Italian grapefruit soda with mango juice, organic, 100% mango juice. Had with ice. If you're wondering.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Next zone, you need a bartend
amazing.
for us.
Don't think that this means that I'm doing anything for anybody.
I want to try that.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds
Okay,
good. Yeah,
I
that's
can
a
make you
sommelier move. That was a forming 3 sommelier move there.
Yeah, I want the sommelier experience.
Okay, I can make a drink.
For listeners, I guess one of the funny things about Emeka's personality is he goes and he always orders the most like colorful, fruity, like extravagant cocktail wherever we go without a fail.
Yeah, it's like been lit on fire. It has like Himalayan salt in it. It's got
has like an umbrella attached
flowers.
to it.
Yeah, it has an umbrella.
And then these dudes are ordering like beers.
That's great.
It's like, I'm here for the taste. I don't know what you're here for.
Guinness stout.
I know, yeah. I drink more beer than you do.
Nah, it's too filling. I want flavor.
I get it. Yeah, I like the weight of beer.
Anyway,
drinking wine.
What a year!
Let me introduce that pod episode. What we're doing instead of just yelling at each other.
Yeah. Right.
Welcome to our end of the 2024 traditional drunk pod, where we get a little lit and we talk about the year and we talk about the pod.
Yeah.
There we go.
And how great we are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, people should already know.
I am some more, yeah.
Should know.
It's been 4. How many years has it been? 1, 2.
It's been like 4.
So this is the 4th year, right?
4th year.
2020.
Yeah, it is the
you
4th
guys started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember this in 2020.
Yeah, this is the 4th year in the books.
Yeah.
About to be episode 200 in a few.
Crazy.
2 more episodes.
Wow.
I've enjoyed doing this pod so much. Like, not only is it great just itself, but it's been great to connect with you guys. And like, I wish, I hate AI, but like, I wish AI could, we could run all our episodes through AI and find like, all the insights and new ideas.
And we can actually do that. It's just, I don't know who can, but that's something that,
like, think
Real quick, there's one thing real quick. There's the new thing that Zoom is doing is it's automatically generating a transcript.
Oh, right. Oh, right. So we can copy paste.
Yeah. Right. But like, think about where the Enneagram was before we started this.
Mm-hmm.
And how the best resource people had was Wisdom of the Enneagram or Road to Self or whatever that fucking book is. It's just how dire. Like, think about like Personality Cafe or Reddit and how just, there's still shit, but there's a little hint of something more.
And your book was a factor there too.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. But how much we have for the few individuals we've been able to affect, how that has changed the entire sense of how people hold the Enneagram.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could have easily just sort of gotten washed in the ocean of online bullshit and just become something like, what's your what color are you kind of
it was heading there for a little bit.
Absolutely. And I feel like what we've preserved through this podcast, what we've unearthed,
I have colors for all the types too, but anyway.
I was going to make the same joke.
I do want to hear that. But like, we've made like a audio capsule, like a time capsule in a certain way of what the Enneagram can be.
Mm-hmm.
And what it can be that can withstand the erosion of, most people, the way they think about all the fake news. The way people think about things is in terms of easily repeatable memes that other people can repeat.
Right.
And it's usually constellated around, authorities. Even people who are, free thinkers, they're free thinkers around authorities. And so I feel like what we've done is not only we've presented a better version of the Enneagram that is popularly out there, but we've also put the tools in a person's like own conceptual toolbox to think through these things on their own terms. Like through the lens of what the centers are, through the lens of what the instincts are, what their object relations are, so that if they disagree with us, which we welcome that, it's like they can put it together and argue for it themselves. You know, like Xander coming up with attachment to disconnect was so brilliant and still impacts us today because he had tools out there of thinking about what attachment is, thinking about the centers are. He's like, well, what are they attaching to? Yeah. And anyway, so yeah, it's been great from that point of view, but also just like to be able to hang out with you guys has been amazing.
Yeah. And not just that, not that we've given people tools and we've continued giving people like you're saying, capsule of an accurate Enneagram. But from my perspective, it's not just like the strength of the material. It's also the fact that we've brought the Enneagram to that sort of Enneagram to the internet age, the internet culture. Like we all grew up with a smartphone on our hands, on social media. And this podcast is unique, not just because our information is correct, but it's actually a cool podcast.
Yeah,
like
totally.
And because a lot of podcasts in this field just ends up being people just sort of like reading through books or like
lecturing in
people.
A dreamy, soft voice. Yeah.
So there's this aspect of we're actually interesting people that have interesting shit to say that are funny and people want to listen to. We could be talking about anything and people would tune in, but we're talking about the Enneagram and we're making it really personal. So in a way that people can really connect to, like to see that these are real people, even though they're weirdos, they're living the Enneagram. They're doing it through a medium that is casual, but can actually get to some sort of depth. So it's just a combination of, accuracy, depth, but also just, friends hanging out and entertainment. And that's just really unique. There's really nothing else even remotely close to that sense of a creative, entertaining, fun podcast that actually hits on something real.
With all the roast stuff too, which is part of the modern aspect of it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's been nothing like that out there. Even our trifix names were coming from a place of playfully making fun of all these combinations, and nobody was talking about the types in terms of the things.
Yeah.
You want to say something, baby?
Not really. I guess just to move into the same space, it's just like I feel like our podcast has really helped people connect in a more straightforward way. They can kind of like skip over all the superficialities, all the like sort of polite like pleasantries at the beginning and just connect to personhood really quickly.
Yeah.
Really quickly. And I don't want to give all of the credit to just our podcast specifically, but I think the Enneagram in general, like once you're familiar with that, it does help you connect on a more heart-to-heart level much faster, way faster. It skips so much of the like small talk of the like getting familiar with each other. Sure, there's like a certain like regulation you have to have with one another in order to go there, but you can just, if I'm friends with like a 7, I immediately know what's going on and we can just like connect over that instantly. I mean, at this point, a lot of my friendships have been connected over the Enneagram, and they've been some of the deepest friendships I've ever had.
But none of them have been with 7s. None of those friendships.
She can't say anything.
Well, there's one 7.
Yeah. No, there is. Yeah.
But
and
y'all are haters. All right, that's one of the questions
thing,
I have
even with 7 fixers that you have. It's kind of
7 fixers is a different story. Actually, they're a problematic species.
Well, one thing I hope that. And maybe there's work to do in terms of making this more explicit, but one thing I do hope that this podcast has conveyed, there's so much fake spirituality with the Enneagram. There's so many people who embody it in a completely fraudulent public way where they're talking about presence and essence and all this kind of important stuff. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. And in their in their private lives,
just say their
it's
name.
like it's completely fraudulent and doesn't even give a fuck about this kind of stuff. And all of us, even David, in our own like we all care about this stuff deeply. Even if we like make jokes about it and we whatever, it's like we all embody it and we all work with it and we all we keep personality, we keep and we keep essence. And we all have an essence connection. And it's really sacred to all of us. And when we're in a zone, that's like especially palpable. But all of the stuff we do, it's like that connection and staying completely real and not like modifying our personality so that we're like, oh, this is what is spiritual. This is because we're connected to spirituality. We suddenly stop roasting each other. We stop making fun of each other. We stop having opinions. We stop feeling negativity. It's like, how do you keep all of those things that are about what makes a person, what makes them interesting, what makes them flavorful, what makes them relatable, and they have a connection to something spiritual. And I feel like I can't think of a place in like externally where people who really value like quote unquote spirituality don't start to adopt a persona,
right?
And it just like reeks of inauthenticity.
Yeah.
So I feel like we, not that we totally embody it perfectly or whatever, but like do we understand that and we try to represent that?
Well, it's just being real. Like,
right.
You know, that's the problem with spirituality culture, sort of like we're so above it, we've transcended. And that's one thing that's really great about the Enneagram. Right. It's really great about the Enneagram is that it really is not conducive to that. Like the Enneagram is really looking at some of the ugly corners of the psyche and it forces you to confront yourself. And I think that's why we get some of the most real connections out of it, because it just turns people inside out and you're looking at the things that suck about this type or this person. It's not like a self-affirming project. Oh, you're so amazing and you're, you know. And so that's one of the things that makes the Enneagram so enduring for me. It's like it's a way to confront something real about ourselves. And we've experienced over the years just so many awakenings in certain aspects of uncovering corners of this stuff about not just like, oh, this is my type, but like, what is this saying about how I'm living?
Totally.
You know, and so it's I've heard comments over the years from people who have just been inspired by us as a group,
right?
Us as living the Enneagram, and people have then created their own groups, been inspired to like connect with other people, and through the Enneagram. And even stylistically, we've inspired people who've approached the Enneagram from a creative place where they're displaying their personality, you know, creativity and personality, and exploring the edges of it. You know, willingness to question the basic structure of it and come up with new ideas. And so that's been cool to see. You know, we've birthed some kids, right? Some children out there.
The other thing is, I mean, the Enneagram isn't a therapy.
Right.
It's a deadly accurate diagnostic tool to illustrate, define, and describe your hell, your prison, and so forth. And I think a lot of people think that just reading about their type has them, I've said it before, stop doing their type.
Right.
Yeah,
I
agree.
What you just said, it's not a therapy, is so important
it's true,
and overlooked.
Yeah, I like what we've done in a sense that out of necessity, we had to create our own. We got kicked out of all these spaces. Right. So we made our own space, and it's the best thing we've ever done just because it allowed us to flourish and also to attract so many people who needed the same thing but didn't know that they needed it. All these creative, smart people a lot of the stuff that we do is really dense, but it's just like weaponizing intelligent people who then take it to new directions, and then we learn from them,
Right.
It's been like a really cool, creative community of just ideas having sex with themselves and birthing new kids, and so like every year it's like there's always some brand new thing. You know,
generation.
Yeah.
Often from the outside or
beautiful.
outside of our core group, and we welcome that as opposed to whatever us being the
being threatened by it.
gurus or whatever.
No. I mean, so as I was looking over what we've done this year, some things that David introduced was like Akashic Records.
Oh yeah, that was big.
Which is like a huge thing, and like that's been monumental, not only in just how it was, but also a bunch of people did Akashic Records based on that. And a lot of people have that experience for them has been a big part of people message me about this or in sessions or whatever. Told me that it's been a big part of their like stepping stone to like basically not be completely atheist.
Oh, interesting.
And not that you were like trying to, not that there's any like theistic belief system there, but like, thinking that everything is a sort of a materialistic, mechanized, logical way that the world works. And you introducing that to us was not only just impactful for all of us, but it also like has deeply shifted the paradigm of how a lot of people have been working. And I know people who once considered themselves atheists who got sessions and even have a personal relationship with Valeria now.
Oh, cool.
That's cute.
That's been like just invaluable. So like that thing, even though it's like, I don't know, it's just a huge new door.
Nice.
I'm always surprised that, I mean, for example, when I started talking about the Michael teaching stuff, I was surprised about how many people got into that.
Right.
Like I was actually really couldn't believe it. And the Akashic Records was like another reminder, because a lot of times I'm just like, nobody cares about this stuff. Nobody cares about the stuff that I think about. Like, how do we summon entities? Like, is that a thing that we can do? Can you like, so I have like a long trail of mystical things that I want to do that I'm like, nobody cares about this. So like to see that people responded so well to such a mystical experience that like a sort of a reminder that the spirit world is right there and there are channels to access it was a reminder that like people are hungry for that kind of like other world experience. Yeah.
They want a relationship with it, and Akashic Records was like one quote unquote tangible way of having a relationship with it. And so, like, I mean, we've all voiced this, but like, not to say that we're putting this on you, Emeka, but like, we feel like of all of us, you're the guy, like you would be the 1 foot in and 1 foot out kind of guy, like the rest of us would like would probably like just go, whoa, like lose ourselves in some other dimension, but you're really in reality and you're really in the spirit world. And I don't know, I think it's a really clear, it's a very clear feeling with you. Like, I think everybody feels that. And so, like
that's interesting. Yeah.
No, that was one of those moments where it reminded me that I have, a bunch of stuff that I want to do, but sometimes I look at people, I'm like, who's gonna, like, who can, so just, it was one of those, 4-wing 3-fix moments where I'm like, oh, there's actually a map of people who might respond to, demon possession episodes, or demons might be like mental illness or certain moods or like whatever, but that's like a possession and entities. Summoning, things are like, there's a real way that you can align yourself with a certain kind of a thing and it manifests in a person.
Oh yeah.
Like even just like thinking about a certain person and then they call you Anyway,
Right.
I should stop.
No,
No, it's beautiful. I love it.
I'm 100% on board. I think
I
we
really
should
am
have a
into
private
it.
conversation about this when it's not recorded.
Right.
I want
No,
to.
I'm really into it. Yeah, I think it's really cool.
I think it's true, and I mean, what better than
I think it's
8?
beautiful too. I think it's vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think it's I think it's really honest. I think it's really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really into it.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, acknowledging. I want to acknowledge that was David's.
Yeah, dude.
Thing.
That was huge.
That was huge.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And then for this year, I also want to acknowledge Emeka and the zones of the instinct zones.
Oh, yeah.
The
going
zone
crazy
stems
with
or whatever.
those. Like, I mean, I know that was David and Emeka. Like that was
and
David's,
Joseph. Yeah, it was three of us.
Joseph and
it kind of was my seed ideas, but actually Joseph and Emeka really fleshed it out, which was great. I love that.
Those have been revelatory.
Major.
Those have been so strong.
Major.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a big part of this year. That was 3 months.
Yeah. No, that like consumed. I feel like those are like personal zeitgeist for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everyone is digesting that for a while.
And that's still not even done.
Just like, no, I can imagine. I can imagine not.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, just even a few days ago, I feel like, or maybe it was last week or something like that, I feel like I had a new insight towards being, towards not having 3 in my social, which is like the idea of being regulated by my social connections just doesn't cross my mind.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's just, there's a certain way that I'm just like, yeah, this is going to drain me, but it's going to be like life-giving in a certain way. Who cares, you know? So the idea of being like nourished and regulated and like fulfilled by social connections just like, is a blind spot for me. And when it happens, I'm like, what's going on?
That in itself is like, there's stuff there about regulation through the instincts versus activation versus whatever.
Yes. I need to be activated.
That's a whole thing. But I feel like this zone stuff is something that maybe like in 5 years from now we'll have a clear sense of the implications. Or right now it just feels like
it's
fun.
That kind of thing.
Feels like interesting or whatever. So like that's like y'all's brainchild baby came out of the creative ether.
Yeah, because at first the core idea was there, and it took a couple weeks, maybe a month before, like, you know, some pivotal insights about it. Like, oh, like these are actually corresponding to the things that we know about the instincts themselves. So it was interesting just to see how that unfolded and all these different insights, and it started to flesh itself out. And then looking at each stem by themselves, like, oh wow, like I can actually, you know, like this is a really distinct stance that this person has. And I guess the final frontier is like get to the point where it's observable without that person's input. I mean, there's just still a lot of layers. Like the collage exercise took a full year because that was like a nothing. Like that didn't even it took a full year to see hundreds of collages before I was like, oh, this is actually really a thing.
Yeah.
But so yeah, the instinct zone stems it's gonna be a while.
And then you know, I did not show up on this call intending to like give people props or whatever. It's whatever. But with Alexandra, and you know, I feel like I have learned so much about the heart center and image thanks to Alexandra this year. Like,
say more about that.
Well, it started with her own discovery of, you know, and Lewis and Josh have been a part of that, of deciphering 3 being 2 versus 3 being 4.
That was huge.
That led Alexandra on a journey and of understanding her own heart center and how it relates or does not relate with being a 9 and how her heart center, you know, 3 being 4, for even though it's a 3, is still pretty discordant. You know, we were just talking before this call.
Distant and separate,
Yeah, it's still separate, but we were talking about this before this call about her being heart last, 9 wing 1 with a 3 wing 4 fix, and how like the difference between like what's comfortable versus what like accords with your person, with your identity,
identity aligned,
identity aligned, and those different distinctions, like, and it's a whole thing. Somebody presented me with this article that somebody wrote reacting to basically the like our view of 4.
Oh.
And it was it was actually, to give him credit, was like a pretty well-written article, but it was based on the kind of old view of 4, right?
Okay.
And I could understand where they're coming from, and it was a really good, well-written article.
You should link it.
I will. Yeah, actually.
I think I saw it in that eclectic.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It was. I can't remember the woman's name who wrote it, but it was it was pretty good, but it was still like
wrong.
Based on a wrong misunderstanding of 4.
Yeah. And
I started writing this whole thing. Anyway, long story short is that I asked Alexandra a couple questions just to kind of like get her language for things, and she just had such amazing ways of so simply articulating facets of the heart center that, as me and my own 4-wing 5 bullshit, can be hard to find. Like, language is hard for me, as I'm always saying like on this podcast. I'm very visual, and so her just articulation was so clear. And I see you making faces like you don't know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember.
let me
It'll come back to me.
Let me pull it up.
I mean, the first hit of the year in terms of the podcast episodes was The Last Heart. We talking about, like, Alexandra had insights about
The Heart Last. Yeah.
Yeah, we did that.
I mean, that was very heavily influenced from like a conversation that I heard from Joseph and Lewis, and then when I was on a call with them around, I can't remember what the topic was, but it was, it really just got my wheels turning as far as being heart last and just not processing things through my identity center. There is a certain kind of like it just happens kind of on autopilot, but it's just like I'd never think to do that in an intentional way. Right. And I feel like as like a strong distinction I was able to make was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't feel like it violates my boundaries. And so I just assume that it's like fine with me.
That's good.
But then it doesn't actually pass through the, what is the word that I used earlier? It doesn't actually make its way through like the approval of my identity center. And I just don't think to filter it through that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, what's the fucking word that I was looking for earlier? I don't think to like send it through the like discriminatory process of the image
discernment.
center.
Yeah.
The discernment. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I feel like just as long as I'm comfortable with it, it's fine. But then like there's a certain subjectivity and discernment and discrimination and exclusivity that the image center is just inherently is. And that is completely valid. And because as an image last person, I think I discount the validity of that.
It's interesting
center.
in the context of being social dominant, because I would think that would pull up some of that, the how I'm seen, No,
it's distinct.
Still,
it's distinctly different. Yeah,
David,
I can relate to things that I'm not aligned with.
You seem a little far away from the mic this time.
How about this? Is that any better?
I mean, he's back while you're doing this.
Yeah,
but
that's better. Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Actually, no, I'm going to stay here for this.
I mean, this could maybe be like a future conversation, like creating more distinctions between like social and attachment, because like I do think those are distinctly different.
Yeah.
I don't actually think they overlap much at all.
Right.
Same with like social and the heart center. I see those.
They don't.
Heart center and attachment also.
They don't. They really don't. Yeah. And they're not the same at all.
There's
and
different
so
materials,
like as a social dominant, like as a social dominant, I can relate. Triple attachment 9. Like I can relate to fucking anything. I can relate to just the scum of the earth, and still get along. Still find a way to like have a back and forth, have a relationship, of a bond. But that person does not have to be filtered through my identity center.
That's what she's trying to say about us.
That's true.
I can relate to the scum of the earth.
Smart. Yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly what I was suggesting.
Her identity
That's a sharp
center
review.
is aligned with us.
Yes, at this point, yeah.
Remember how
she's got scum in her.
Remember way
before? It is true. I'm gritty.
Somebody called her a cunt queen.
Yes.
And like, she like
my
used
crowning
that as
moment.
a title.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, that was my what's that term? That was my rite of passage.
Yeah.
Just like, yes, I did it. I pissed someone off. I've been crowned a cunt. That's amazing.
Like
Thank you. I feel seen.
And for her, like, I mean, you can correct me, and I don't mean to speak for you, but like, I think I interpret that as a way of giving yourself, from an attachment point of view, permission to honor some of those impulses in you that are responding, like, you know, the difference between the, like, what violates my boundaries versus what accords my identity. And you had previously, I'm not trying to overemphasize that one event, but
No,
I think
I
it's,
understand what you're saying.
I think it's symbolic of a move toward not just going with what goes against or with my comfort and my boundaries and autonomy, but what is me and how is my external actions, behaviors, whatever, like giving yourself permission to say no to the outer world in a certain way that the 9 doesn't feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like the function of attachment. And it's funny, I was like thinking about this earlier. Like the way that attachment works is it doesn't absorb what wasn't already there. The way that attachment works is like it's not going to absorb something that is not already pre-existing within itself. So like I simply would not have been attracted to you guys if I wasn't already kind of a bitch. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was really in dissonance with you guys in like a strong way, this simply wouldn't have been a thing. And so it's more like the mirroring and the space and the availability to be this way allowed something that was already there to just like grow and come forward more. But it was already there. It was already in me. That's good. So yeah, that just feels related to what you were saying.
Well, and I don't mean to interrupt anybody, but the thing that Alexandra said that I was looking for, like, you know, I was, you know, articulate something for me, Alexandra. And she said, 4 represents the allegiance to self, whether or not it is viewed positively. And even that like small phrasing is so illuminating and wise.
That's
and
excellent.
Characterizes what it is. And so I want to give Alexandra props for even, you know, heart last 9.
Thank you.
Say it one more time. Allegiance to self, whether it's
the allegiance to self, whether or not it is viewed positively.
Yeah.
And that's totally true. That's exactly what it is.
It's a very succinct way to really get at the essence of it.
Exactly. And Alexandra's been reading American Psycho and
amazing book.
Marveling at the 3-wing 4-ness of it. I want her and maybe Lewis to like do a pod on it eventually when she gets through it. But you know, these dimensions, like it's, you know, I don't want to speak for you, but like the way that you've been appalled and in some ways, and then also but kind of like finding a resonance with the 3-wing 4-ness of that book has been really interesting. And it's helped you find vocabulary and a way to like look at what the heart center is and how it functions. Because there's, you know, people equate heart center with either feelings or they equate it with image.
Yeah. Or a certain tenderness, and like the heart is not always tender.
Right. And the heart center, like feelings and connections and relationships are a part of the heart center. You know, all these things are a part of the heart center, but like an image is a part of the heart center, but it's not the heart center itself.
Yeah.
And like the image, for example, is like a necessary psychological fiction that we uphold to tell ourselves who we are. And that we have a secondary external image that we look for reinforcement or validation of that internal image. But either one is not identity. And identity is a deeper thing that lives in the heart. And a lot of people get this confused. And I feel like Alexandra, what she's brought forward with the heart center has been a lot more clarifying about what image is and how it functions. And you know, the way that the heart center is not just about like, who do I love and what am I connected to? But it's like, it's about identity, which is in and of, you know, for, I'm putting for 4 bias, but it's like for oneself. It's who am I?
No, it's subjective. Yeah.
It's subjective ultimately. And I think that the heart lastness of like the culture in general, the world in general, it amazes me constantly how little people understand what the heart is and how it, like, what its purpose is in the human being. And so anyway, I just want to give props for Alexandra for creating richness around what that is in that conversation.
Yeah, that spurred
Well,
a
you're
lot
welcome.
of stuff.
Yeah.
You're welcome,
Wanna hear
guys.
more.
Here comes a trifix.
I take that immediately, and
Gold star
thank you for
herself.
receiving my genius and generosity. Sorry, ruined that moment. Anyway.
What
No,
spurred
yeah, it's
the
been good. Yeah.
3-wing 2 versus 3-wing 4? I'm trying to remember like what.
It was.
I think just the conversation around the heart center for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was an entire exodus you guys had around
Yes.
3-wing 2 versus 3-wing 4. That was a whole moment. I remember a
that
lot
was
of
a
people
month at least.
quivering in fear that their 3-wing 4 fixes would be taken away from them. And
There was a lot.
it's well, I was gonna say in a certain way, I was like kind of hoping mine would be taken away from me. It was like, I just come on, let me be like warmer.
An
than
exciting
I think I am.
retype.
Yeah,
No.
and then I remember asking you specifically, Emeka, is my 3-wing 4 fix being retyped to 3-wing 2? And you were like, fuck no. And I was like, wow, you didn't have to be such an asshole.
You are not on
You are not
team
nice.
love.
Yeah, you're
Alexandra.
not nice. I
Nobody
mean, I
likes
remember
you.
that sending me on a whole thing of just like, whoa. I remember being like, wow, am I a bitch?
Yes.
And then also,
Yes.
but also it like actually did make me understand
And
what
that's why we
3-wing,
like
because
you.
part of
Yeah,
it too
right?
was like, we had Josh typed as a 3-wing 4 for a while. And I
Oh, that's
remember being like,
right.
love Josh, but I was like, there was a lot of ways that I just didn't relate to him. And I just thought that was like 9 versus 3
Mhm.
in a way that I was like, I don't
Run to
fucking
that.
get 3 at all. And then when he was typed to 3-wing 2, when Ikram, when Kaiso were retyped to 3-wing 2, I remember feeling like, what is going on? Like, what is
Mhm.
3-wing 4 then? Well, I don't know what
Right.
it is then. And that kind of sending me on this kind of new journey. And Lewis helps me a lot. Just like relating to him helps me a lot through this of just like understanding what 3 was in a new way and kind of like a glorified, like kind of like exalting, like I think in a
Sure.
healthy way, like an exalting
Sure.
way. And then also understanding what 4 was like
Right.
to really see the 4 influence in myself, I think really was actually a very impactful thing of this year.
It was big. It was actually a
big.
really big deal. I mean, it's one of those things you look back on a year. I was like, wait, what happened this year? And then you're like, whoa, that was a moment. That was a couple months, not just from a typing perspective, but also just recognizing how much of a conflict there was between 2 and 4. The people were
Right.
having reactions.
People
And that whole team love versus, I don't even know what the
Right.
other side was, but conversation was like, oh, it's not
No,
just
it was
like,
big.
it's not
Right.
just like social blindness that I feel, this weird thing of, I don't know what people are doing. It's that most people are 3-wing 2 fixed. And there's
Yeah.
a certain
Mhm.
mutual agreement of affirmation or niceness or whatever that is, or charm.
Yeah,
Mm.
there's like an inclusive ambition
Right.
of 3-wing 2 that I
Well-
was like, I don't want to include anybody. Fuck you guys.
One way to-
Exactly.
One way to work it is with my sundial schema, right, where 3 is the sun at dawn, and it should go, so to speak, towards 2 and 1, and noon at 9, and so forth.
Mhm.
Whereas 3-wing 4, it's kind of taking that sun power, star power, and going back into the self and
yeah.
wanting to create the self, right? It's
Oh,
that
that's
self-creating
so good.
piece of the 4 thing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good.
And
Yeah.
also, not to shit on 3-wing 2, but I
No,
did
let's
start
do
to-
3-wing 2. Yeah.
well, just to see like
Sorry,
that
guys.
separation, I see what your role is. I understand what your role is, even though I don't agree with it or it's not for me, but I understand why there's this sort of inspirational getting people together thing about 3-wing 2 fix.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
And it might feel like I could see it distinctly that what might feel mean about the other side of things, I get it. I get what the divide is. And so that whole moment was that was a big sort of realization, and there was a lot of ripple effects, and we reviewed just about every 3 fix typing that we've ever done, which took like a month or 2 to do, and so that was a big moment this year.
Yeah. I mean, it changed my relationship to myself in a lot of ways. And like, maybe this is nine, maybe this is social, maybe this is FE, whatever, but it changed my relationship, yeah, to myself, but also to my relationship to love itself. You know, recognizing that like my love style is very discriminating.
Yes.
And it is also, it's very like, hey, like me loving you doesn't mean that I think you like shit flowers, you know? Like I think you're kind of shitty also, and I'm gonna love you anyways.
Right.
That's a really good point.
That's interesting.
Your heart fix, I think, does have a lot to do with the style of loving that you have.
Yeah, and it's also like I'm not going to try to be perfect for you.
Right.
You know, like I'm going to show up as my best, but you're gonna have to deal with like all of my imperfections as well. And like if you can't do that, then like I don't accept your love.
Right. No, that's ultimately,
and that's part of like the 4 imposition, right? Is like I dare you to love this.
Exactly.
That's I mean, imagine how many relationships are based on not revealing your ugliness.
Yeah.
You know, like how many relationships are based on compatibility that ugliness is not a factor in.
Well, it's like 3-Wing 2 is a shitting on 3-Wing 2. 3-Wing 2 is like a show of unconditional love.
Yes.
Right? As opposed to 3-Wing 4 is not even going to do that show.
Right.
It's not going to do the show. Yeah. To balance it out though, like there is like a selflessness and like, and how do I say this? There's like a putting your subjectivity on the shelf for the sake of something bigger than you that 2 has that I just don't have. Like if it's not in my best interest, fuck you. Like I don't care. But and like that's why I can't do those jobs, and 2 can do those things. 2 can like suspend its own likes and dislikes for the sake of like some higher cause. Whereas, this 3-Wing 2 versus 3-Wing 4 thing really has changed my relationship, to like how I see myself as like a loving person, as a compassionate person also. Like it is pretty particular. And that's just the material.
I mean, I appreciate 2 and 3-Wing 2, especially when it's directed at me and they're supporting me and trying to help me and praising me and just, you know.
It's just a problem when they expect it back.
Well,
they're like, oh, we're doing the thing where we're just affirming each other and we're giving unconditional love and it doesn't come back, and that's the problem.
Yeah, you gotta earn it. You gotta earn it a little bit. Yeah.
David,
There's like the 3-Wing 2 predator thing of just like, you have to be great or you die. And so be great or I don't care. You know? Yeah, 3-Wing 4. Yeah.
Did you have a point you wanted to finish, David, or do you get what you want to say out?
No, that was basically it.
All right. Because I do want to give props to our 3-Wing 2 boy, Josh.
Yes.
Understanding the value of love that is not about reacting to how shitty the or flaky the 4-Wing 5 that you're working with is.
The long-suffering love.
The long-suffering. I don't have a 3-Wing to react against, or you know. So I mean
John is a patron of the generosity of the
and unconditional love of a 3-Wing 2. I mean, first of all, our intro courses I'm really proud of, and all the work like Josh put in there and hanging with me during it. But, you know, it's like, I don't know where this falls in terms of type, if it falls in terms of type at all, but just like, I do feel like his developmental view of centers and the language he's found around that is incredible.
It's a revelation.
Even the language of like gaze and understanding, for example, like just, you know, in terms of my own type 4 and the way they protect themselves from shame from dismissing outside gaze. Orientation, gaze, holding, you know, for body center, and the way he's articulated that is like, it's made the Enneagram something you can sort of like, you know, quote unquote, objectively talk about.
Yeah, right.
Instead of saying like, oh well, you know, like 9s give me this impression of being like whatever, and 1s give me this impression, and 8s give me this impression. Just say what they are doing psychologically, what a personality is doing. And it's kind of like what we were saying with the zones thing, the instinct zones. It's like that's like Josh's theory. When he is able to give it the space and time to develop it, I think it's going to be like a revolutionary way of holding not just the Enneagram, not just the types, but also like human personality. Like I've been reading this book on an introduction to object relations by what's her name, Lavinia Gomez, and it's a really great book. But what it's done for me reading this book has demystified some of the early object relational theorists like Margaret Mahler and who the fuck, Fairburn, and a couple others, and like how fucking crazy some of object relations developed as a response to Freud, and Margaret Mahler was the first to kind of like begin object relations. But like I kind of thought like, oh, Margaret Mahler, her ideas are pretty sound, and like she's fucking nuts. Like some of her ideas are crazy to me, and Fairburn too. Are crazy. Winnicott is really good. Guntrip is pretty good too. Anyway, it's been interesting because these people have contributed so enormously to like the mainstream view of how like the psyche forms and functions and maintains itself. And so anyway, I feel like whether or not like history will last long enough for it to work, like I feel like Josh is like use the Enneagram to hone those insights and improve and contribute his own in a way that's like
into object relations theory.
Object relations theory and just the whole sense of what the personality is and is doing.
Yeah.
Because like there's things like I'll read this book and I'll be like, oh, the Margaret Mahler is clearly a 9. A 9 probably with a 5 fix, maybe also with a 4 fix, and I can see her biases and the weird like, and I think she's I suspect she's self-sexual maybe because like she really talks about like the role of shit in the infant as it's projecting that it is a sort of a way that the infant is giving back to the mother. And it's like a thing that like there's some like weird self-perceptual
Freud
stuff.
might have been self-sexual also.
Interesting.
Sex and cocaine. Yeah, that makes
yeah. Everything's about sex.
It sounds
and
familiar.
Then cocaine.
And even reading it, I'm like, how as an adult are you thinking that this is how an infant is? I have a niece, like a 1-year-old niece, and I'm like, she's not. I changed my sister's diapers. You know what I mean? Like I know what that's like, and it's just not a gift exchange. It's just, anyway.
One thing too about Josh's thing is, and he and I had I won't say which drug, a drug-fueled conversation about a
Josh
year or
never
two
did
ago.
drugs. For anybody on LinkedIn listening,
on his whole, what do you call it? What do you call his theory?
John, you got to get closer to your mic.
Developmental view.
There you go. Well, if we were just seriously pinging on my overlaps thing, just to give a couple examples, if the heart center is, as he puts it, is about gaze, and type 4 is the social blind of those 3. It's trying to do gaze without influence of anything in the social environment, for example. And then if you look at, just skipping to type 7, the head center is mapping or orientation. SPSX is 5, 6 is SP, so they have the earth, right? They have that, but 7 is social sexual, so it's orienting towards nothing that's practical or on earth or reality, right? So that was a big ping right there.
The unbearable lightness of being.
Yes. Anyway, totally. there was a lot of ding ding dings there.
Totally.
Yeah.
We've just come up with so much really new shit that we could use some time just to circle back around and unspool them again and make them simpler, or like there was just a burst of creativity. I mean, every year there's a burst of creativity, but like it's almost to the point where you create so much new stuff that you don't get a chance to really flesh out or develop or really saturate in the thing that you created. I mean, of course, it just speaks to the inherent creativity of this group, where it could be like maybe we create these things, and ideally there are people who can take it and run with it and do the developing part, because maybe our gift is just coming up with the new edges.
Right.
But yeah, I would like to see there. Yeah, at this point, it would be cool to circle back around and look at some of the things that we've done and see how we can re-articulate them with what we know now.
Right.
Kind of like take that creativity and turn it on itself and see what comes up.
Get ChatGPT to write my book for me.
Right.
Right.
Oh my God, David. No, I'm not.
No,
That's
no.
not acceptable.
ChatGPT.
No, I'm
you know
an
what?
excellent writer, so there's things that can't be.
You
done.
are. You are. I know
No.
that. I will not allow ChatGPT.
okay.
to
It would be
take
interesting if
you.
ChatGPT figured out your writing style and was just
Well,
like doing
No,
it.
no, it wouldn't have the
It could
magic.
help
We've all
me,
seen
you know.
iRobot. It doesn't end well. David writes your own book.
Imagine an iRobot David. That's probably not a good.
That's
I
did.
wanna-
not a good.
I wanna do an
that's
episode.
not good.
I want to do an episode where I feed each of you guys' talking
Oh,
style
no.
into ChatGPT,
Oh.
and I create a fake conversation.
Yeah,
Sounds
where-
like you guys.
Where it's the same voice.
Wow,
yeah.
that sounds good. Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.
Horrifying. When I
give
listen,
you, no, I give you my permission. Let's do it.
especially episodes,
I wasn't gonna need your permission, but you know, whatever.
especially
You have it now.
especially episodes where I'm like trying to articulate my ideas.
Oh, it's
The-
gonna have that
It
all.
is unbearable to
Oh,
because I'm like
that's
like
hilarious.
you know what I mean, like you know
No, I got all
That's
of this.
good. No, it's good. It's part of your charm.
Part of
It's
my
part of your
charm.
charm.
It'd be
Mine will
interesting
just
to
be
see.
an explosion of genius.
Right.
Let's do it. Do it right now. Yeah, do it right now.
Yeah, I'm
It'll
interested.
say- it's been pointed out to me many times that I like stop and say, what am I trying to say? What am I
Right,
trying
yeah.
to say?
Yep.
Let me see. Let me find what I'm trying to say. That kind of thing. So
But you make it work. It
But-
still
That's a little
flows.
embarrassing.
While we're on this
Okay,
subject,
thank you.
Alexandra, you mentioned that my writing would be, you don't want to see it diminished. Can you say more about
I don't.
the
don't.
excellence?
I would
or
actually
what
be
Eyes
is
happy
wanting
it?
to
to.
be.
I
Yeah,
would be
what is
happy
it?
to actually.
Yeah.
Your writing style is so distinct.
Mhm.
It's so, I don't know, it's so both like huge. It is really big, actually.
Yeah.
It's like singular and specific, but also huge and cannot be. There's a certain way that it like cannot be contained, but it also cannot be replicated. It is just so specific to you that like, chat, don't do that. That's
Well,
like a
yeah,
no,
you know,
I'm never gonna
covering
do
your
that.
That is-
song.
That's such a good point, Alexandra, because like the way we got to be friends was over text. It was over writing.
You and me?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
on the
On
the forum,
Resale
and I
Hubs,
reached
yeah.
out to you because I was like, I've never seen anybody express themselves like you express. Like I
Yes.
resonate with the imagery and the
Mm.
Yes.
that's why I reach out to you.
Yes. Yes,
So
there's an imagery. There's a certain kind of there's just like a seductive, like taking you there. There's like an immersive kind of like just like a sexy immersion to your writing style that just can't be replicated anywhere else. And it's so accurate. Like it's such a body centered thing.
it's body.
That you
it's fun.
you
Okay.
become like immersed in this like body centered experience.
They're
and
like
you kind
little
of-
torpedoes.
Sometimes you come out of it and you still have like no way to articulate it, but somehow you like completely understand what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
100%.
And that's happened to me a million times where I'm just like, I
don't
kind
know what he
of still
said.
don't know what he said, but like I know what it is now.
Well, when I had shown Josh a draft of my book, I think around 2 years ago, I had something in the intro about just the idea of wanting to put ideas into people's bellies and
Perfect.
have them experience them or have it turn into
It's very
something.
experiential.
And
Mhm.
that was the thing that he highlighted about that intro. That was
I mean,
his experience or something.
I
it's
feel like
very seductive.
I feel like I'd
your
be able to
writing style.
articulate that if like I don't know where along the project you are, but like like I did an intro to your trifix book where I was
Mhm.
like, this is what David's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I could do something like that too about putting
Oh, yeah.
ideas into bellies, in the
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
whenever you're around to it.
Yeah, no, I'm
And
definitely
it's a different
interested
well, I
in
was
you
gonna
doing
say-
an intro.
It's a different kind of writing style because John's is very like penetrative and it's very like this is the immediacy of what you have to face and experience. Like this is what's coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
Where yours, David's, has more of like a it's more of like a come hither kind of
You gotta
thing.
digest this.
Yeah, it's more of just like it's here, it's happening to you right now. Accept it. You know, John's is a little bit more threatening and like immediate. Yes, yours is just like, you're already in it, baby. You know, just feel it or don't, but it's happening to you already.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, even this kind of stuff, these articulations of like body center, heart center, mental center, and the way things live in people, we've done such a job at, and like it's such a ubiquitous part of human experience, but like no one else is talking about things like this.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I want to also shout out the Dream Girls. I haven't been listening to their podcast this year, but you know, like Kaisa's introduction to Kung Fu, like part of the reason we haven't had as many episodes this year is because I've been doing a lot of Kung Fu, which has been really amazing. And then thanks to Kaisa, and we went to Kung Fu together, which was pretty cool. She went to my class and like met my Sifu and all that stuff like this, and it's pretty cool. And then you know, I don't know what happened in those last episodes with Kristen, but it felt like a thing.
Yeah.
And it was really cool for her and I to kind of do that together. So we want to do more stuff like that.
And I was jealous
Kristen
and envious, so I had to immediately
do his own episode.
session.
Totally.
Yeah, and I'm vying for being the one that takes over for Kaisa and Sammy with Kristen. So I might be having an illicit affair over there.
Are you?
That seems so unlike you, David.
Are you prepared to remember your dreams?
I am not. I'm going to be the one that refuses to do that.
Of course.
And then that'll be part of the whole shtick.
When David sleeps, he likes to be unconscious.
Not even dreams can get to him. Not even dreams can be disruptive.
You're just in it.
Great.
There isn't even a dream. You're
he's already dreaming.
You're just already there.
Yeah. There have been multiple times at zones when you've been sleeping, and I've been like concerned that you're dying.
Me too.
You are.
That's too deep. That's too deep.
Sleeping or snoring or something so deeply that I'm like, this cannot be real, and it is.
Yeah.
And you're fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
it's like, that's not good.
He's using up a life right now. That's not good.
I mean,
all the aliveness that eight's using their living, like David's using in the sleep itself.
Yeah,
to sleep.
It is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I've called myself a professional sleeper.
That feels right. That feels right.
There have been so many times during zones when like everybody's been out doing something and it's like 4 or 5 p.m. and we're like, should we let David know? And we're like, we'll text him, but like, is he good? You know? And it's like we're all, you know, but like you're good, you're asleep, and it's just fine.
Yep. Nothing ever happens to me. I've told you guys I'm never gonna die, and nothing's ever gonna happen.
He's gonna outlive us all.
Yeah,
I
hope so.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna kill you guys. So.
That's fine.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
John's definitely okay with that.
American Psycho,
if David has like a psychotic break during his zone and kills us all, like take me out first.
Okay.
No. I want to go out. I don't want to experience anybody else's.
Please
take me out first.
No,
please make it clean.
I actually
please,
would like
9
to kill
to
you
9.
first.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're
perfect.
the one that I have
good.
the most problems with anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I'm happy to amp that up. Can we bargain? I will amp it up as long as you like kill me in a clean, comfy, cozy way. Can we do that?
Yeah, let it be cozy.
If you just like Luigi me, you know, in like a nice clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
A Luigi special.
Luigi me, just nice and clean, and I'll piss you off a lot up until that point as a bargain.
Let's
I know you like
begin that
yeah.
program now.
Yeah. I'll turn
zone.
into a 6 just for a clean exit. Yeah. I know you love that.
Oh, yeah.
I know you like a big problem.
Oh,
that's his kink.
I can fulfill that. Yeah, I can do that.
Not too much.
Right.
Yeah.
We did a lot of
because I'll kill you. I'll kill you both.
We did a lot of dumb episodes in the beginning of I feel like we did like an instinct mating games episode. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like there were just a lot of like, just thinking about doing more beginner stuff.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that sort of like, let's, this dumb lens on the types that I'm sure a lot of the people who are looking for our hits liked those kind of episodes because it's accessible, it's easy,
Mm-hmm.
Alexandra and Kristen have been thinking about doing a de-shaming of the types, which
we're
is
working on that.
You want to say anything about that, or you want to just wait for the thing?
Yeah, Kristen and I are kind of workshopping this sort of like unshaming of the signs. I don't know,
for all the nines out there.
Offering whatever, which is basically the premise of it is to take like what every type. Yes, this was inspired off of like an astrology podcast that we both listened to, which is Unshaming of the Signs. But the premise of it is to take all of the shame that every type experiences. Every type is like stereotyped for, and just kind of tracing it back to the root, to like its sort of original purpose.
Emeka feels no shame though. So.
All right. Well, for 8, we'll be like intentionally shaming the 8 swing.
I've got too much self-esteem. I can use some shaming.
I think we can break that down.
I came out thinking I was great.
I'm ready.
So.
Well, there will be a before and after this podcast for Emeka specifically.
Everybody's trying to bring me down, but I'm just too high up.
I didn't hear anything. What'd you guys?
You walked.
Did the internet cut out again? Anyway, yeah. I mean, just to bring it back to, oh my God, to ignore that completely. I mean, to bring it back to Kristen, Kristen is just like an absolute fountain of genius. And I'm excited to have her on more often. I'm excited to work with her more, but she is just like, just like an app, like she has tapped her own genius so much, but her social has no 2 in it, and so there's a way that it's just like not shared with the world enough. So for anybody that hasn't listened to her podcast, go listen to it. It's Insomnia, anywhere you can find podcasts. But also, we're gonna tap that bitch for everything she has this year.
We're gonna use her.
She is truly a force of nature that needs to see the light of day.
Yeah, on the call that she and I had, Kristen, I mentioned how she did those paintings inspired off of my trifix descriptions or booklet. I can't remember where it was even.
What's going on with that, by the way? You guys sort of gave up on that project, it seems. The trifix booklet.
I'll put setting that aside. I'll come back to that in a second. But we're going to come back to it. But but my point was that she did all of this stuff, and she wasn't even like communicating with me. I mean, she didn't even tell me that she had, was pinging off of my stuff and did all these paintings and things. I mean, at a certain point, she had generated, several of them and then did start to post them in the group. But that was an interesting example of the zone stem thing of her being a social dom, 9 Bermuda, but her social is social blind, so to speak, in the zone stems, because she's like 1-3. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, she's a sneaky little fucking genius bitch. Yeah.
She and I got into a good sparring thing that one night at a bar. I think Alexandra and John heard some of it, where we were jousting about who had the more powerful Christ consciousness.
God,
coming off of the
I can't imagine a more 9-wing-1 argument.
I know. Oh right. Man,
it was a beautiful moment. Yeah, it was 3 9-wing-1s, two social. As far as the instinctual zone stems go, it was 2-1 socials. And then I'm the 2-1 social. So it was just this just absolute, complete arrogant.
Who has the most access to universal consciousness?
Yeah, it was exactly that. And 2 9-wing-1, so it was like, it was toxic, right? And so it was like just this complete this toxic sparring that was
so
just
good.
so much fun. And then I'm the 2-in-1, and I'm just like sticking my head in between the two of them, just like looking back and forth. It was just, it was amazing. It was glorious. I was like, this is the most narcissistic thing I've ever experienced in my life. This is amazing.
It was good. It was good to pull that out of her too, because she doesn't usually express that, Kristen.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I just sit around and wonder, like, how did I end up surrounded by all these withdrawn types? Like, what the fuck is an 8-7 doing with all these fucking...
I know.
You have a 5 fix and a 4.
Yeah, I'm as withdrawn as an 8. It's like the opposites of 8-7 and 5-4 is like, I have split personality, you know?
Well,
it's true.
As a withdrawn moment, Alexandra always talks about at the zone when she came out like late at night, and it was me, you, and Kaisa.
You're right.
In the void.
Yes.
In the back rooms.
That's happened for the last 2 zones.
Right. It's our tradition now.
Yeah.
Self-present one's zone 1.
That's right.
And we're all
and
just like sexual types.
Right.
Sexual type 5 fixers. Yeah.
Yes. You guys are it's the 3 sexual dominants, it's the 3 5 fixers, it's the 3 zone 1 self-pressers that are just pushing it to the absolute limit. Like, I'm ready to go to bed. I like don't understand what you guys are doing. I dismiss it actually of just like, you guys are just doing drugs in a basement. That's fine. But if you want to have a spiritual experience, that's fine. You know, I'll let you guys have your own experience. But yeah, it is funny to see that just the 3 of you guys just like zonked out,
you'll let them
completely bonded, you know, just like you guys are having a moment on a plane I'll just never visit, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh,
it is beautiful.
You need
it's
to
one
go
of my
there,
favorite.
though. We need to do a force-fed.
I would love to yeah, because I've got like this time around, well, the first time I had a pretty good playlist, but I had a playlist that I was thinking of where I was, and I was like, I even saved some of these songs where I was like, I want to experience this music underneath in the back rooms for the first time, and it was incredible. It was like like a fucking it was.
I keep wanting to ask you for different playlists, but I'm also kind of like want to be precious about it because it's different when you're not in the back rooms, but
it's not the same.
I still kind of want them. I still kind of
like, you know, even those songs, like I don't even want to listen to them too much.
That's what I meant.
Because like it's not the same.
I don't want to be familiar with anything.
Exactly. Like, and so some of those songs like I've been saving, it's like, you know, if I like a song, I'll play it to death, and then of course it gets old, you don't want to hear it anymore. Like some songs I save just for the fucking specific experience, and so that was the first time I was experiencing it myself, and I was like, what the fuck? It was incredible. So yeah, that's I mean, I guess it's like that's zone 1 stuff of just like you want to create like a one-of-one moment experience thing, and it was fucking amazing.
Yeah, incredible. It's sexual too, right? Like it's also you want there to be a before and after.
Oh man,
that seems very particular to sexual dominance.
That insight in and of itself, you want there to be a before and after.
Yeah,
is so good for characterizing sexual instinct. Like that is such a real facet of however you relate to sexual instinct, whatever type, whatever stacking.
Yeah,
you want there to be before and after this chemical reaction. That's so good.
And even after that, I can't hear the songs the same way. Like whatever it sounded like when we were down there is not what it sounds like when I hear it normally. Totally. It's not the same song. So it's a really interesting kind of experience of discovery, because I'm curious to hear what songs sound like in that experience, because like I discover songs in the zone that don't sound like anything like what I experienced outside of the zone.
Right.
So it's a pretty incredible thing.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I do though, however, different than a certain kind of back room. I do want you to share with me whatever you were playing when I was on that mushroom experience that we record episode about. Like, you know, even if it's totally different, I just want to touch back on it. I know exactly what I was playing at that point in time. Yes. Yeah, because that was amazing. So that was like a big I've been battling with pretty intense depression, and in like just really confronting like very deep stuff in my psyche, and that was all of y'all support, especially Alexandra, and Emeka a lot, and David a lot, but especially Alexandra has been really important to me this year, and really big and profound, and it's really felt like going to the bottom of me. But yeah, that playlist was something, and that mushroom trip, I'm not 100%, but I wouldn't, if somebody's depressed, I wouldn't be like, take mushrooms. It wasn't about just taking mushrooms or not taking mushrooms. It was about these deeper parts of myself and my experience being shared and witnessed.
Yes.
And also just my own personal being prepared to be ready for things that were very, very deep, and very, the idea of letting go of being alive or even having an impact, or other people even worrying about me, letting go of everything on that level is something that I've prepared for through inner work kind of stuff and familiarity with different things. I was recognizing that in those experiences that if I had, and it's not to toot my own horn, but if I had more narcissistic attachment to how people might mourn me or not mourn me, for example, I would have probably had more of a hang up, something. But even then, I was letting go of how people would remember me if if my soul just departed, and that level of things to let go of was very big and profound. So I don't want anybody listening be like, oh, if I'm depressed, take mushrooms. And I'm not even saying my path is the way to go, but for me in particular, those elements were very helpful. Not that, and I'm not 100% by any means, as Alexandra knows, but that was a big part of my.
I think for most people probably, and this is speaking to your specialness, but most people probably need a guided, trip like that.
That's true.
But the other thing I was going to say is, I mean, you actually can do things on mushrooms, and what I mean is, it's there's actual action happening internally, and you can actually find out things and uncover things and almost be interactive, for real. It's in abstract space, but it's as real as a physical exchange of some kind.
Well, I mean, from the point of view of the work, the Gurdjieff work, the inner work, whatever, is to build a higher body. And a higher body, or soul, is something that can operate on these higher, so to speak, levels that can do that kind of work you're speaking to. Is we're normally so dispersed and disorganized, and our attention doesn't hold in anything. And so to work to keep your attention so that it doesn't just disperse when there's no body or no habitual consciousness, is a body that can do those kind of workings and have effectiveness on a different level than our usual effect. It's not just a product of drugs or mushrooms or whatever, but mushrooms are a powerful doorway to get a taste of those things. But yeah, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually ask questions. I mean, that's kind of what it's for almost. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's been, squelched, and pressed, stigmatized and all of that kind of stuff, is because it's partly, well, for one thing, the kinds of material you come to and questions that are answered and things like that, they lead to, in some ways, one aspect is personal power, right? And the powers that be, the Illuminati in the background, that pressed down all the natural supplements and came up with the terrible, worker bee educational system and so forth, and the church and all of that stuff. They don't want you to have access to that personal power and that God stuff within,
Right. Right.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
do agree with that.
I mean, I've spoken about this, but I think it's a pretty significant discovery for me this year, coinciding with you considering mushrooms for depression. I looked into it, and so I started experimenting with just microdosing psychedelics like every third day since probably November. And
wow.
And so I did a month of shrooms, and I just noticed it's like a ambient access to like a heightened sense of creativity, mood enhancement, that sort of afterglow with the experience after the zone. Like you get that for a couple days after you do even a very small microdose of shrooms. And then I did the same thing with LSD, and it's even better. Like
wow.
LSD is like a 12-hour, more of a 12-hour, like shrooms is more of a 6-hour deal. LSD is more of a 12-hour deal, and it's smoother. It's because it's, it's a chemical less, and versus like shrooms is more of a plant. And so my experience with LSD has been amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's just,
I've never done LSD.
You take a tab, you cut it in half, and you cut it in 5 pieces, so you have 10 little small and so the sense I get from it is you get like a dopamine kind of deal where you're more motivated, but there's a creativity, but you're not necessarily even noticing that you have taken in something. Like I sometimes forget that I took it, but I do notice that I'm more creative and more like for a couple of days just like in a better mood, and it's just sort of noticeable in these months, because in the summer everyone's in a good mood, but in the winter you sort of like kind of down a little bit. So that's been, I highly recommend trying a microdose of LSD. Just get a tab and cut it into 10 pieces, and you hardly even notice that you took something. You just remember once that, I'm usually tired and unmotivated and uncreative at this point, but I'm actually like, coming up with new ideas and chatty, and just you're more on that sort of like, I have access to parts of myself that I don't usually, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think I will always be microdosing psychedelics from now on.
Wow, cool. You said this is like every 3 days?
I'll take it today. Like I took one today, so I'll take 2 days off. But because you can feel the after effects for about 2 days, and then take another one, and then you could do 3 weeks of that and take a week off. Sort of like you don't want to build too much of a tolerance to it.
Right.
But one thing I've noticed with shrooms is I'll sometimes do, it's not exactly a microdose, a gram or two, and the next day, not always, but at least half the time, it feels like there's been a wiping clean of my mind. Just like there's a nice, fresh, blank slate kind of feeling.
Okay.
Yeah,
that sounds
it has a sense of like discharging. There's like a real sense of flow. And I feel like when I feel really good in certain months of the year, like in the summer or spring, when I feel really good, it feels like I have access to that sort of creative flow where things are just passing through me. And so in the winter months, it's really noticeable because things kind of get stuck and stagnant. It feels that way. So to get that feeling of, this is like discharging stuff. I can really like flow in a way that I normally feel like I'm able to when it's nice outside, but like to be able to access that sense of like creativity in a very ambient sense, that's pretty cool.
I think it's partly that wiping the slate clean thing is partly that it's somehow wiping clean a lot of just neurotic chatter or something. Yeah.
Even like if I do a microdose of LSD like today, the dreams that I have the day after or the day after are so vivid. Like it just feels like you have more access to psychic material.
Maybe Emeka is gonna replace Kaisa and Sammy.
Yeah, he's gonna be the new dream girl.
Yeah,
I've just got all these
Emeka,
mystical
the
shit.
Sexual 8-wing-7 dream girl.
I'm just gonna incept everyone with all my mystical potions.
Yeah, just fuck everyone with mysticism. Sorry to be so aggressive about that.
But no, John, like I think you should. Yeah, I highly recommend microdosing LSD. This is one of the best weird things that I've encountered. I do a lot of weird shit. This is at the top of the heap for this year in terms of things that are like, this is actually really impactful.
I'm cool with John microdosing. Just had a couple intense,
you don't need the intense ones. Yeah, you don't need the intense
been
ones.
A lot,
Just
yeah,
like
on that, she was referencing earlier on the one that like you were there for, Emeka,
right,
where I was like, I'm about to die.
Yeah, what you don't know about that is John was looking me in the eye while he was saying that. And I was just like, all right, this is a challenge for me. Just like, I have to take that on and also not interrupt his trip. This is cool. Also, they're bonding over it. That's amazing. And also, John told me he was just going to leave me alone during the whole thing. I was like, cool. This is quite a task to be thrown into. My partner's gonna die and he's gonna be bonded while he does that, and I just have to be cool with it. So yeah,
no, it's your
partner,
my fiance.
That's right. There we go.
Yes, got a little too formal. Sorry,
partner.
Whatever.
Show him the ring.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, they finally came in.
It's a little hard to see, but it's
nice. That's a beautiful rock.
The little dark one is Alexandrite.
Oh, nice. That's cool. I remember you telling me. Yeah.
Yeah,
it changes colors in the light. So in synthetic light, it's like this kind of blue-green, and then in sunlight, it's like this red magenta color. It's a natural stone because John's a toxic man and doesn't care about I don't know, human rights.
The environment's already gone.
The environment's already gone. So
what's
you know
another
what?
African child for a stone?
God.
In this case, it was Brazilian.
It's a Brazilian. It was mine from Brazil, so whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. No, it's gorgeous. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a blood diamond. Yeah.
So the Joseph meetup in Toronto was actually significant in a social instinct sort of way, because it was nice to see just sort of a connection for its own sake without the pageantry of trying to make an event or a zone happen. It was really chill. And
pageantry is a great word choice. Yeah.
And it's sort of, hey, like we can do zones that are just more connective, and we can do zones that nothing needs to happen. We can just hang out. And also that also led to some insights for me on just social being, it can be easy. Social can be an easy exchange. And I think it was a time I think I hit up John just texting. Like we don't have to have like a phone call and to catch up. But we can just text and catch up that way, or sending memes. Any sort of form of exchange can be easy social. And I think as a social blind, you can sort of make an event out of like, all right,
right.
we should
time
talk.
To relate.
And it's also this thing that's sort of a backlog that doesn't get addressed, where it's like, oh man, I really need to talk to that person, or I need to have a call. But it's like, we can ping each other in little ways that are easy. And so that came out of the Joseph meetup, and I think the zones have been different. Just recognizing that just social doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be like a huge thing. It can just be easy. Yeah. So that's another
good.
2024 thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I do remember that meetup, and kind of the whole time you're like, wow, I don't have to like fuck up my body to like connect with people.
Right. Didn't do any drugs hardly. We just went to dinners.
Yeah. I mean, you were with 4 social types.
Yeah. No, I was. Yeah.
So that was immersive.
And also Joseph was having a good, like he seemed like he was in his element, and he was being a host and having a great time. It was
so fun.
We know he's fun, but like he's actually fun.
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah, and he's connective. Yeah, like when he's in his zone, he's really he's open and he's vulnerable and he's fun and he's a human being to connect to.
Yeah, I want to go to that next one.
Right, not this
Toronto.
like mythical celebrity.
I gotta re-up my commitment to ping.
I mean, same deal. Like it's hard to. Yeah, it's easy to sort of get back into your hole and forget that, hey, I think it's just finding easy things to ping on. I think that's a tough thing, because so many of the things I want to ping on are not easy things to ping on. You know.
Well,
that's right.
That seems like your connection opportunity with John. Finding ease in the difficulty seems like your John connection, because that mushroom thing was wild. You guys were on the phone forever talking about just, I don't know, I had to continue tapping out. I was like actively trying to distance myself because I was like, this is for them. But it was, anytime I like overheard, it was just intense 4 or 5
hours.
just void shit of just like, guys, this is like diagnosable material that you guys are just casually connecting over. So if you want the difficult connection, John's your boy. He'll make that easy for you.
Well, that's the problem sometimes. Like, it just feels like, oh, it's just going to be an ordeal to drag anyone into this, or like, you know, into the cave, so to speak. So not feeling like, oh, I don't want to, like, the 4 or 5 thing is like, do I really want to like pull someone into this corridor where I might be the only one who gives
I've been
a shit about
experimenting.
this?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's you as a body type, like monitoring people's regulation. Actually.
Yeah, it's like this might be a lot. This might be, you know. But yeah, I can get, you know, I can forget. It's, as social blind with, it's so easy to just get stuck in your own little cave and not like engage. You know, that's one thing I appreciate about attachment. It's like, okay with just basic shit. You know, and
all right.
it's not even a like, it's like, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like a deep dive. It can just be like, all right, just like, let's talk about, you know, just regular bullshit, you know. And
my siblings, at Christmas, we had a weird fucking talk about stocks. You know, investing in the stock market, which is something that I need to figure out. I meant to
get back to you on that subject.
Yeah, I want to learn about that, but it's like, that seems like the only way to like actually make any kind of money. My sister is somehow, she works for some wealth management something or other.
Yeah, she's a 3-wing too.
3-wing too, but she's Anyway, that's the whole thing. I don't know. At some other point, if you guys know about that stuff, I would like to know more.
Yeah, David's got more intel on that than I do.
Yeah, stuff to say about. Yeah,
I want to just like sort of do like a 4-wing 5 kind of call out on that, because like this was a night where just like the 4 Lukovich siblings were just left in the day. Was this Christmas? No, this was the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
It was like a family kind of dinner at John's sister's house, and then everybody just started filtering out, and then it was the 4 siblings, John and his brother and his 2 sisters, were all just like bonding for a long time. Eventually I tapped out. I went into the living room.
You called it trauma bonding.
It was a bit of trauma bonding. It was for sure trauma bonding. But anyway, I tapped out. I went into the living room, and I remember overhearing that not only was it like talking about like stocks and sort of like financial gain and all of this kind of stuff, but like John was like participate. Like I heard John's voice a lot in that conversation. And I remember being like,
money.
What's happening?
Yeah.
That John is talking about finances for an extended period of time.
I'm like an insecurity I'm having as I'm getting older is that I don't make much money. And I got to figure out a way to, like, you know, I don't make money through coaching people, and I don't make money through books. I don't make money through other stuff. So I got to like figure out a way to make money. And so like, yeah, that was the conversation. That was like, I got to figure out how to like survive in the world, because I'm following my passion and I'm like become an expert at this thing that very few people give a shit about, and even fewer people will pay me for.
Right.
So yeah, that was where that conversation came from.
Yeah, no, I was more just pointing it out as like a tease towards like.
No, I hear you, but I wanted to like.
John's just so anti-finance, bro. You know,
I hate that.
Eat the rich kind of thing. And I was listening to him talk about stocks in like this sort of inquisitive way, and I was like, I think the world is ending. I think, you know what I mean?
It is ending.
So
I mean, it's definitely
gonna get bleak fast.
It's definitely one of those things that I think about a lot, but it's not an interesting topic to share. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily want to talk about money, but like we all need it.
Yeah.
And you know, like just thinking about getting older and having a nest egg and all that kind of stuff, it's like, this isn't interesting, but it's necessary, you know?
Yeah.
If I could probably get, if you guys were interested, my sister to do like a call with us. If
Definitely, yeah.
if we wanted like a how to
Money.
think
Social
about
wealth
this shit.
management 3.
She's a social 3 link 2. She's got an 8 pick. She's like really knows her shit.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
effective. Yeah.
Really.
All right. Are you guys ready for like a sort of round robin kind of thing? I'm just going to take over for a sec.
Sure,
Uh-oh.
go ahead.
Okay, so this is going to be like a quick kind of questionnaire for all of you guys. It's like 3 questions or whatever. Okay. So, here we go. Whoever wants to start. David's already making fun of me. All right. So, a sort of like 2024 end of the year roundup or whatever. All right. First thing is your new. No, they're going to be fun, David. Just
David
shut
wants
up,
this
okay?
more than
Just
any of
shut
us,
the fuck
so.
up, David. Just sit down and eat up. Open. Here comes the plane or whatever. All right. Here it comes. Okay. So the first one is the new most hated type. Think about it. I know 7 was dominating for a while. 2 has been another frequent flyer in our experience together. Is there 2024? Is there a new most hated type? It doesn't have to be the number itself. It can be instinct. It can be social zones, or instinctual zones. Is there a new most hated type?
Well,
All right, round robin.
I'll go first.
All right.
On the zone stems for social, definitely 2-1 because it's so fucking
Check
flaky.
this out. Check it out. Yeah, there's 2 right
She's
here for you.
flipping the
Open
bird.
up. Yeah, here you go.
No,
2
it really is
twice.
bad. I mean, there's so many different things about it too. You know,
it's
just
true, yeah.
maintaining. You know, where is friendship? Where is the
Yeah, right.
sustenance? Where's the commitment? Where's the the solidity, the actual
Fair
stuff,
weather friend.
the
Listen,
stuff
who needs
of
that
the actual.
when you
Fair
have
weather
just
friend.
entertainment and charm and pizzazz the
Well,
whole
it's not there when you
time?
need
You
it,
know what I
though.
mean?
Well, but-
Who needs the sort of? It
but
is actually there.
You're
when you
not
need
doing
it. You know what I
enough
mean?
of that part, though. You're
Okay,
not doing
I regret
enough
this.
of the pizzazz.
I regret
It's-
these questions. Don't
It's
I?
only there when you need it.
I mean, you're
Listen,
needing
it's
me
here to
provide all
self-entertain.
the
Yeah, that's
One
exactly
in any
what it is.
instinct is here for its own self-satisfaction. So
Yeah.
if you're not getting what you need from me, then you guys should just be more interesting. You know what I'm saying? I'm not entertained by you guys. That's why you're not interested in me. Mhm. So take that, 3-2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've got zone 1 and 2 of them, so I'm not interested in.
Well, it's not social. You're fucking boring and social. So how about that?
I see.
Yeah, David's the one exciting social.
Is he? You know, he
But
just
am
is
I?
arrogant. I'm clearly the most exciting and social.
Well, I mean, the thing is, since I'm 1-2, that means I'm actually that's sexual social. I'm social messiah.
Mm.
So you
Oh,
know what I
right.
mean? I'm just
Yeah.
there.
Another
Didn't
of
he
this
die?
9-wing-1 Christ consciousness one-upmanship.
yeah. Didn't he
Yeah.
like die really fast?
Die
because
really
people didn't
fast.
like him.
But he
you know what I
didn't,
mean?
You know, he didn't have to say a lot. He just was interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And then people killed him. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Jesus was actually
I know.
like a self-pressed sexual
I'm gonna
9 that
live
people
forever.
projected a lot onto.
That's right. That's right.
I'm
He
gonna
just was
live
like
forever.
creamy and easygoing.
Yeah,
and
they accused me of being
Sexy,
doing,
and they were just like, it's too
commiserating
much.
with prostitutes.
Yeah.
And, you know,
That's so
I mean,
true. Yeah, that's.
Oh,
so
you know
true.
what? The Amazon
so-
fulfillment warehouse.
Oh, that was
Is your
all.
least
Bermuda
favorite new hated
overlay.
type?
No. I'm just saying that I feel like they probably got the most heat in terms of the roasts that we gave the Bermuda overlays. But they probably enjoyed it. So Amazon
That-
fulfillment warehouse is.
I'll say that name is just
brutal.
brutal.
But
It's
they,
just
but
like
the thing is,
Amazon
they love that.
but the thing is,
fulfillment
they
warehouse.
didn't mind.
Yeah.
So think about
I
what that
fucking
means
bet they
about
didn't.
them.
No,
I
258.
know,
They're strong.
I know. Yeah. No, that
258.
is truly proof of like how ego can be invested in different places. Because if I was ever called that, I would just,
That'd be it.
you know, I just take a bunch of pills, drink a bottle of wine. Like
They're
I'm
like, yeah,
done.
You would request the Luigi
they're like, we're the substrate of humanity. We're cool with that.
No, I mean, it's true. I mean, this year also came the like Drake versus Kendrick.
Oh yes.
Well,
and Kendrick Lamar is an Amazon fulfillment warehouse
yes, he
or whatever.
is.
Well,
gotta watch
a
out
god
for him.
among gods. You know what I mean? He
Well,
really delivered this year.
I was all the way Drake on that one, and I still am.
Well,
Yeah, okay.
you know what?
Yeah,
This is why 2-1 is better than 1-2. That's all we had to say.
See, I'm
Everyone,
a
I
social
hope you enjoyed this
revolutionary.
episode.
Let me see. Everybody else took Kendrick's side. I'm
Yeah.
Team
All
Drake.
right. I'll just go ahead and go next. 7 fixes still.
All right, I'll give
You know what I mean?
my shit list,
gonna do
which is
drugs over
the
here.
317 trifix,
Oh,
That's very fair.
the TED
What?
Talk.
What?
For the new most hated. Yeah.
What happened?
Most
Yeah.
hated of 2024 superlative.
Nothing happened, but it's just like I consistently see that trifix just like
blasting.
being influencers
Yeah.
and blasting a lot, but like very little to back it up and
Yeah.
changing people's minds based on, and also like behind the scenes doing
This-
a little grift.
Mm-hmm.
This
in
is
order
reminding
to-
me of a certain presidential candidate.
Mhm.
Oh,
Is that
She
hadn't
is
put that together,
371.
but yeah.
that
she's
is-
That is
371.
true.
just describe that person.
The great disappointment of 2024.
Yeah.
the great disappointment. Yeah.
Madam Disappointment, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, no, exactly. Like, one of the things I learned, like about Kamala, for example, is that she went to the Teamsters, and which is like the big union people, and they gave her a bunch of questions to answer in this interview, and she only went through 3 out of 14, and then she blew them off by saying, "I'm gonna win without you," something along those
Whoa.
lines.
Yeah,
I'm not
it was
totally
something like,
something along those lines.
or it was like, you guys better be for me, or something like that. It was-
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
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 But it was like I mean, I also, whatever, politics, the whole, I blame Biden, whatever, blame her. But anyway, that kind of like that particular self-righteous, unconditional, positive self-regard and aspirationalism, all in a thing without really like
Yeah.
having a clear sense of identity. What is Elon Musk? What is his trifix?
I think
Same.
he's that combo.
Probably
Yeah,
3,
exactly.
1,
Exactly what I'm talking about.
7, 3,
I-
1, whatever.
Elon Musk, he has this like persona or like an alt account where he praises himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on
Mhm.
Twitter.
That he owns.
Yeah, what's the name? Let me find it.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I had a video that I was actually watching about it recently
Yeah, I'll find
How
it.
was it discovered or whatever that it's him, that it's his?
because he routinely hosts these like Twitter Space conversations.
I heard about this. Yeah,
And it
he,
is
he was
so-
talking shit about Trump and talking about the trumpets people,
and he's
people
all,
realized it was him.
but it's like
But it's
and he's also
Adrian
praising himself
Dittman.
where he's like yelling about how X, it's not Twitter anymore, and it's a platform with integrity. But it's like so insecure. Where the fuck? It's like it's a really
Adrian
dumb name.
Dittman.
Dittman. Yeah,
Mhm.
Adrian Dittman.
Yes,
I heard about
Adrian
this, yeah.
Dittman.
And it's so obviously
Totally
Elon
7
Musk.
move.
Yeah.
Totally that
Totally
combination
Dittman.
move.
Yeah.
7-3.
and he's like-
100%.
And he's like praising. There's like a screenshot I saw somewhere where he's like, it's a photo Elon Musk posted of him with his son on his back, like he giving a piggyback to his son, and then using his own alt account, Adrian whatever Pittman or whatever it is, commented, "You are such a good father. Your kids
Oh my
are so
God.
lucky to have you."
Yeah. Wow.
And it was like the most pathetic, like
Wow.
insecure dude thing. And anyway,
This guy's got trillions of dollars, man, but no
Yeah.
self-esteem.
no self-esteem.
No, it's
Like, if
I
I'm that
learned
rich,
this
listen.
year. Yes, I learned this year. I don't know where I was before. I guess just avoiding everything in a positive hole. But I learned this year that Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. That is the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard in my whole life. That really,
What is
really
he rich on?
captures the state of consciousness. You know what I mean? It's just like
Amazing
where people are kind of
cars.
like mystified. People are kind of mystified by how. I mean, I know a lot of people that are mystified by like how could Trump have been president. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. Of course, Trump is president again. You know what I mean? Hawk Tuah is a millionaire now. Of course, Trump is president again. You know, and like, let's give a shout out to our resident Trump supporter right here. You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot to say about that.
There's a lot to say about that.
Yeah. Well, first I was going to say
we just the reason don't get he's the richest,
it. You know,
him and
speaking
Theo
of stock,
Vaughn.
Speaking of stocks, the reason he's the so-called richest is just because of how much stock he owns.
No, it's a
true.
total
No,
stock
right.
pump scam.
It's not.
You're right.
It's not exactly. It's not actually cash.
I know.
Words,
yeah.
He'd have to sell it today or whatever. And also the other thing too is, as you all know, there is a deep, dark Illuminati in the background, and those people. There are people. You know, the Rothschilds and the Federal Reserve.
Yeah,
and
no, you're right.
That are much more wealthy than him. He's actually not. He's the public face of the wealthiest. Yeah.
I agree.
There are people that are worth more.
He's small peanuts compared to like the real people.
Yeah, the real people.
Yeah.
There are people in
Yikes,
Africa that like
God.
have oil money that can't even be evaluated. You know, people in the Middle East that have like more money than can even be fathomed.
Elon Musk is the like NFT.
There you
right.
Go. Yeah.
He's the one that people are okay, he's the richest guy.
He's the bored ape of wealth.
Yeah.
There are some really wealthy people. You know, like girls who go to Dubai because they make so much money from getting shit on. Like 10K.
I do know that. Yes.
I've heard of that.
Yes.
Wait,
it's
what?
like girls
apparently it's like
go
a
to
very
Dubai
famous...
to get shit on by famous or by rich people. And you make like a lot of money, like 5-10K, and I'm like, girls are like, yeah, I'm gonna go get the bag, and what's
Get
you know $5,000 to get shit on is
literally shit on.
One thing I do find interesting about wealth is that you get to find out like what someone's true personality is because there's no breaks. Like you can literally create whatever reality you want. Because if any of us got really wealthy, like our dreams could be, you know, realized because you could do whatever you want. And so you really find out like who somebody is, because so much of it's, you know, looking at people's personalities, like so much of what you are is because you can't really be or express who you really are because of the limitation of I need to earn a paycheck. And so like it feels like you don't really know who somebody really is until they are no longer beholden to trying to earn a dollar. Like they can actually really do what they want. So it's like Elon Musk, that's who he really is. And most people I think are going to be shitty or worse if they had access to the money to really fully express who they are.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you
because I mean, I know for me,
corruptive influence. Yeah.
If I had access to that kind of money, like all my quirks and weirdness is going to be on full display. Because like, who's going to stop me? What's going to stop me from having like a security system of like 15 Amazon bitches just like following me around that are like yeah, because I think that's cool.
I'd
be a weird billionaire too.
Gaddafi had that. Gaddafi had that.
Yeah.
He was
I mean, you guys know about what's his face? Who's that sex trafficker that died and
Epstein.
that didn't really die? Yes, thank you. He had like his original hallway was full of like jars of eyeballs.
Really?
Oh,
you guys know that?
I didn't know
yes,
that.
like his original. The hallway, right as soon as you walked in, was full of jars of like real preserved eyeballs.
You don't really know somebody until they have
millions. What was that about?
Freak.
What was that about?
I'm saying? Nobody knows.
Well,
nobody knows.
It symbolizes that he had eyes on all these people.
He's a freak. Yeah, and just like agent. So the podcast knows, I'm all over the Diddy case. I am ready for the disillusion. I am ready for the dismantling of Hollywood. I'm ready for it. I'm all over it. Jay-Z has been accosted by this whole scandal. I'm here to see him go down, just so everybody knows. I'm not here to give you updates or whatever. Just know that your local 2-1 social type is tracking it all, and I'm elated over all of it. I am ready to see
more with the
Hollywood
Trump
as it relates to an American value come down into incineration.
You're going in the direction of Trump and Elon actually with all that stuff. I'm just telling you.
No. I'm the only reason I have any connection to Trump is
you
because Trump is also 2-1, and so he just like knows how to keep a pulse on the culture. Yeah, same with Kanye. You know, they made their splash, and I'm making my splash too. So you know.
Yeah, this is the year we hit on frustration a little bit.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah,
a few episodes, dreams.
Yeah, I want to dive more into that specific thing, Emeka.
Closer to your mic.
Oh, I want to dive into that specific thing that you brought up, Emeka, about like, how do you put it? Like, it's like heartbreaking to have dreams. It's not the right way to put it, but to have a dream is to like risk something, to risk heartbreak or something like that.
Vulnerable, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's some way that you put it that was specifically like really eloquent that is very true.
There. Yeah, something there.
And something I resonated a lot with as a frustration type. That was
it's a dare. It's a dare, and it's a dare to like face more pain in the face of like potential disappointment of holding on to an ideal that might not be realizable. You know?
Yeah, it's like to have an ideal is to like break your own heart or something like that. And like
the potential of heartbreak.
Yeah, and like as a frustration type, it happens like almost like once a week where I like have this like looking around thing, and I'm like, how did everybody get comfortable with this level of like acceptance or numbness to this stuff that I feel like is, at least as a heart type, I'm like, people actually really do want a level of like intimacy and like a level of seeing and a level of like what's important to them to be treated with like a mutual sense that this is important, right? Like, you know, or that this thing, like, even if I don't understand it, like my Egypt shit, it's like this thing is like mysterious and meaningful to me. But it's like everybody, like those things that are like, in my eyes, I see other people shitting on what are most important to them. I'm not even talking about myself. I'm like, collectively, I see like the things that are the most important are routinely shit on and layered over. And when I work with people individually, a lot of it is like letting them know it's okay to feel like the things that they feel are important in a certain way. You know, it's like you can value these things and you can like feel sad about them and all that kind of stuff.
Think about what a selfie is. It's almost like a cheapening of gaze or whatever.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
I had
yet wanting it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I had a
curation to the point of it's just a quick thing. A selfie is like a curation to the point of like truncating vulnerability or something like that, which means like gaze can't be fully received because it's that curated.
And it's doing it too many times also, so it's going to water it down also.
I had a conversation with Joseph that felt like a new opening for fantasy that I hadn't seen or heard before, and this is probably going to lead to some episodes, but he said something about like, you know, being at a restaurant and getting this sense of, oh, this experience that I'm having, it's me, and it says something about me and my partner being here, and this image, this painting that I've constructed, I'm in love with it. And if the other person doesn't see it or doesn't resonate with it, like to burst the bubble of the fantasy is what kicks this frustration of my inner sense of my ideal or what I want is not resonant with the reality. And for the first time, it hadn't really hit me that, you know, the 4 style of fantasy, because I'm aware of the 9 and the 7 style, but something about that clicked, and I still have to explore it. But like 4 is a fantasy type, and it's, we talk about the negativity and the disagreeableness and everything, but at the base of it is this because I experienced 4-ness and you guys there is like this really sensitive kind of holding of something precious and ideal, and for you, like, it's Egypt stuff and this place where it's like, I want all you guys to be there and really experience this thing that's really special to me. And it can feel, in my point of view, like almost like a naive sort of dreamer kind of deal.
It's my sexual instinct too.
Yeah. And I see that. That's one thing that came to me as I was realizing that is that the way that shows up as a sexual type, as the way that you can hold the other as this almost impossibly special romantic object. And so, there was something about that hit me about, 4 is, at the end of the day, a fantasy type. And this ideal is the thing but this impossible ideal is the thing that's underneath it all. And and this is something that we're all sort of protecting ourselves, all the other types in their own different ways of, because in the past, like David and Joseph, we talk about business stuff all the time, and they'll just get high on fantastical ideas of, we could do this, and I'm over here like, how
is that practical? Yeah.
I mean, I've got a lot of fantasy stuff. At the end of the day, it's like I'm looking at the field, is like, that's not happening. So I asked Joseph, so what is the preferred, what would you like as a response when you're in the throes of fantasy? He's like, because I'm gonna walk myself back from it. Like, I don't necessarily want other people to burst my bubble. I'm going to be disappointed on my own. And just to see it for what it is, it's like, I can go to, if we're not necessarily talking about what we're going to do, like, we can just talk about fantastical options all the time. But sometimes I'm just like, are you serious about this right now?
There's a lot of 3 wing in there I detect, version. I have my own version. It's a little different, but
yeah.
But I see what you mean. Like, I mean, I resonate a lot with
there's an idealism. I guess naive. There's from my perspective anyway. Just there's like a sense. It feels sort of naive idealism in 4 that maybe hasn't been talked about enough.
Totally.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, there's and maybe this is a future conversation, but there's the fantasy types, and we really haven't talked about this as like a group enough before. But the fantasy types being 9, 7, and 4, it feels like the more that I think about it, the more that I experience it within myself, it just feels like sort of like a breeding ground for possibility. Right? It's just like an imaginative landscape that cannot be confused for reality. It's just like, this is what it could be, and like, let's see if we can make this happen, and then we have to ground ourselves in reality and see like how likely it actually is. But it's like I don't know, there's some adjacency to like a positive outlook, in the sense that there's some like hopefulness in it. There's some like imagination. What am I saying? Imagination in it. But it just feels like a breeding ground for like ultimate desire outside of the realm of possibility at times.
That's part of where I was going with the 4 thing, is the kind of fantasy that it is a fantasy that for sure could never be, or something, if that makes sense. Like, that's part of its not me, I'm not like anything else out here in the world or anyone else. So there's no way that this fantasy could become an actual thing. And it's a withdrawn type.
Oh, that's
so
good,
it's an interior vision, right? It stays inner or something like that.
Yeah. And and that feels related to our last call about like 4 wing 5 versus 4 wing 3, or just like 4 in general, which is like, it has to be original material,
right?
Which means that if in a certain way it's realizable means that it can be related to, which means that it's not original.
Yeah. If it's real, it's not original.
Yeah, there's an attachment to being frustrated there.
Yeah. There is, as a 4-5, positing these things in terms of how others might receive them or be unable to receive them is just not even something that factors in. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of the like fantasy, so to speak, or idealizations that I locate as a 4-5, I've had forever. You know what I mean? Like one of the things that's very interesting to see through Alexandra's eyes is how consistent of a person I am. And what I mean by that is like I just took that for granted, but then she will bring up like around my family, my family will like, my parents are rejection types, my siblings are attachment types, and they will reflect the way I am and the way I've always been in a way that, like, now that I understand the Enneagram better, is kind of funny to me. Like, what did my brother say about, he said something really funny where I was around like my brother-in-law's family during Christmas, and there's like somebody somehow maybe related to me who was like talking to me, and he, like, my brother made the observation just unprompted that like few people have enough disdain inherently that I do, so that I like didn't care if he was comfortable, this guy that was talking to me, because I wasn't interested in whatever.
Yeah, this guy was like kind of trying to chum up to John and like, how's New York? And clearly trying to like relate to him and like just connect with him or whatever. And John isn't a person that necessarily likes to make people uncomfortable despite like fourness. Like sometimes it is very intentional, but John is like a kind person.
Yeah.
And so like just being an asshole for the sake of it isn't true to nature, you know what I mean? But what John's brother was pointing out was that like John's disdain for what is being presented happens to be stronger most of the time than his impulse to make people comfortable more often than not.
Yeah.
And that's what was present in that moment. It was like, I can tell you're uncomfortable, but I hate you more than I want to make you comfortable.
Yeah, anyway, it was like, but like they even said stuff about like me as a little kid and me in high school. It was like stuff that was getting, that I normally wouldn't even like come into my ecosystem, but I was realizing that like Alexandra was like hearing, and like I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of true about me. But anyway, like there was something that like the idealization isn't necessarily like conceptualized, so to speak, in terms of the reaction of other people as a 4-5.
Right.
It's not even if they go along with it, if they don't go along with it. It's like there's been a big, especially as a social blind 4-5, there's been a big thing of like, oh, like this is not a thing out there. Like this is not a shared thing in human. I just assumed because this is in my consciousness that like,
right.
Excuse me. And I do think like something I've in working with people individually, like I don't think I'm totally just insular and making it my own values or something like that. I do sense that like in the deeper heart of most people, there is, I mean, this is like my like 4-5 into 9, gap in the Enneagram going to 9 thing, but there's like a shared longing and a shared heartbreak that I think is like kind of a universal wound in most people. And often when I'm working with people individually, I'm like tapping into that like universal wound that they themselves are not fully aware of. And I'm kind of like slowly and safely trying to like bring it into their awareness of like how much this sucks or this hurts or whatever. And it is based on this like almost universal heart of like a universally mourning and grieving heart of the things that, whether it's fantasy, whatever you want to call it, like whatever the heart really wants, the heart can't actually get. It's like I feel very in touch with that. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it makes perfect sense.
As a 9-wing 1, and some, people come to 9-wing 1s for counsel and so forth, and having a 4-fix, people are often going into, deep, dark shit or whatever, and maybe, in the moment apologizing or whatever. And it's like, no, this is the real stuff.
That's the real stuff.
This is what I'm here for this.
Right,
exactly.
Right.
Like, just spew just all of the ugliest shit you could come up with, you know.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so there's something there. There's a lot of I mean, we talked about potentially just like getting back into basics, and I mean, it's more specific to Joseph and Social 4, but I'm curious about like looking at some of these types and being able to like sum up the crux of whatever the type is going for. And there's something about like image fantasy or heart-centered fantasy in 4 that I feel like hasn't been represented enough. So that was something that,
yeah, like it'd be fun. I don't know if this would be possible if we could locate one of them, but you know, like a Celpres 4 is the refuge of 9s, right? Like that wannabe 4s is like, and like, you know, I dated one. And
can we get her on?
I did too, actually.
Yeah, and you know, she's lost to the like sands of time. But if we could locate one, that would be really an interesting thing to just dive into, just for the sense of distinctions and what you're talking about. Like my ex was like in high school, and she was an amazing artist, and she like discarded everything and lived in the woods off of like fucking roadkill and foraging and stuff like this.
Yeah, I remember those Instagram stories.
And like, you know, most Celpres 9s that think they're Celpres 4s are like, you know, I felt a little different, you know, like and it's like, no, that's like that thing that you feel different about is like the thing to honor, but it's like a different expression than this other thing. And so anyway, the idealizations and the fantasy, like it'd be interesting, for example, to get really like if Joseph could be vulnerable about his fantasy idealizations, and like my former good friend that I'm not really in touch with anymore, like it makes me wonder what his were.
Yeah.
You know, and I can kind of pick up on it. Like I can make my own estimations, and like I have a good friend that I haven't talked to in a while, but who's a social forming 5. And it'd be cool to like see if I could get him in a place where he would like speak on it, because I know he's got a lot. Whether he would admit to it or not, he's got a lot of heartbreak around it. It'd be really interesting to that, like what the fantasy is there.
One of my exes is an SPSX 4-wing 3, and she was into the Enneagram and stuff. This is, man, when was I dating her? Like 2005. Might be able to get her onto a call, but I haven't talked to her in about 5 years. She's pretty sharp and interesting.
Yeah, it'd be great to go through all 9 fucking types and get like a good selection of people that are really accurately typed to different instincts, different wings, and just explore them.
Yeah.
Do you not think like Victoria would be open to this?
Victoria? Who?
That's my ex.
That's the 4-wing 5.
Well, first, how comfortable would you be?
I think I'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's no threat there. I don't know.
I think it'd be interesting. I'm curious.
I'd be curious, yeah.
I'd be curious if she'd be open to
5?
it. She'd be very hostile, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's fine.
It would be the biggest
get at one of those conferences. There's a small handful of people I'd like to bring on the show that are people I've known forever, just to hear you guys.
You always talk about your fucking 4 friend. Who's that guy?
Yeah, he would probably come on the show. He's sexual. He's your type twin, except 6 and 9 fixes. So
I'd be interested to hear that. I'd like to.
Yeah.
I would also be very interested.
I'd be just interested to hear him talk about you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, just have him come on, talk shit about David. Yeah.
I just want to hear what he has to say about like romance in general, because I'd like to just hear another sexual 4-wing 5.
Yeah.
You know, talk about how disgusting they are.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
so John doesn't feel so special.
When just how self-betraying the whole world is.
I mean, this guy thinks he is the elephant man, and that everybody's pointing at him and laughing at him, and
I just want to hear
that kind of shit.
Another iteration.
It's not far.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Of the same thing, because I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
freaks are the only things that keep the Enneagram interesting to me. Just weirdos.
Alexandra and Lewis need to do a Throwing Floor episode on American Psycho.
Oh,
you guys should do that.
Yeah.
So good.
You guys should just record it.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so psychopathically through 4 with an 8 fix. Like neurotically, there's this undercurrent of like extreme anxiety and also just this constant threat of like violent assertive outburst. And not even a threat, like it manifests very frequently. Very frequently it manifests where it just like in the middle of a sentence to like start a sentence and then talk about like wanting to kill this person and then like finish the sentence as if it's normal. You know, and it's, oh my God, it's just amazing.
Isn't it magical? Like somebody like Christian Bale, who is that trifix, latches onto the role
Really
and gives like a
perfect for
performance
it.
of a lifetime.
Really
That,
perfect.
you know,
for the
it's
role.
just,
Yeah.
I love when magic like that happens where the actor's type and the character forms a symbiotic sort of like, you know, thing happens and something special happens. That's
It
really
really
cool.
is special, yeah, because the guy is the character is undeniably 8-winged 7 fix. I wondered for a while, it was like, does this guy have a 7 like fix or whatever? But he's so narrow about his interests that it's not a 7 fix. It's not broad enough, it's not manic enough, but he has these like, and this is more towards the case, or this is like more in favor of a 3, I think probably 8-5 typing in that order, is that it's like such a contracted, it's so narrow and contracted and such a precise delivery of this like incredible violence. Just this just like amazing, precise, amazing in a neutral way, right? For the listeners or whatever. This like, yeah, this amazingly precise, just violent, manic, assertive dissociation. It's just, it really is just incredible. The writing of it is so good too, because you like kind of relate to the character while laughing at the most violent, gruesome, just like manic, I don't know, like just, yeah, dissociations. It's just like the worst shit I've ever read in my life. And yet I'm like laughing through the whole thing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, watching Alexandra read it is like her giggling and then like wincing and giggling and wincing.
Do you think the movie captured the essence of the book well?
I think as well as the movie can. The book is always going to be better.
Sure.
It's always more colorful. It's always more nuanced and more detailed. But I do think the book did a pretty good job.
The movie. Stuff you were showing
I'm sorry,
me.
the movie. I do think the movie did a pretty good job. Like the book has more of like a sudden manic vibe that I don't think the movie captured as well. Like he's just like in the middle, you know, because 3-4 is just like deadly fucking serious, right? Everything is just like so curated and everything's so serious and everything is just like so related to the identity or whatever. And the book has this way of like describing everything as like deadly serious, and then it has this like sharp veers away from any kind of image curation, and then it goes right back to this image curation in a way that's like so sudden and intense and so violent. It's crazy. But yeah, then it goes right back to this just like, you know, now I'm at dinner with my friends and we're drinking San Pellegrino.
Yeah, if you're tempted to
I'm wearing
read
my
it,
Armani silk tie. It's incredible.
You should read it because like
it really is amazing. It's so disturbing and it's so funny.
Like I don't read much fiction, but like what Alexandra showed me as like just little excerpts or whatever are so full of meaning. And yeah, if you're curious, like watching her read this book has been like, I've seen the movie a million times, but like I feel like I'm discovering the what it is through Alexandra reading it.
That's interesting.
That also particular trifix, like 3 + 5, has this double competency, super streamlined, super specific kind of thing, especially like I assume 5-wing 6 and 3-wing 4. But then also like the 3-8, like double assertive kind of like just exertion of will in this super specific way. It's just the freakiest combination and the most fascinating case study. It's incredible.
Well, like in the book, like, you know, and this is just a part that Alexander shared with me, which is like he's in a club and he's like, you know, he's narrating the story and he's talking about like these 3 dumb bitches or whatever that he's supposedly relating to. And he says, he's projecting how they should respond to him based on he has this Armani tie or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, they call him a yuppie, and he's like, how could they think I'm a yuppie? My Armani silk tie was loosened.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
And it was just so like everything was so dismissive and objectifying and reductive.
Yeah.
But in this like niche way that was like, you know, a universe that I don't enter into at all, and but it like clearly for the narrator is the entire universe.
Right.
Yeah, and just like the 3-wing 4 thing of just like, yeah, it's assertive, and with the 4-wing, there is this like sort of like descent into madness that has to be like held and contained and channeled and directed. And then with the 8-fix also, it just like adds to that. And maybe the 5-fix too, like it adds to that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this way that as a 3-core, all of this like psychopathic mania has to be directed into this like really streamlined, funneled channel that's super saturated with like identity, meaning everything, every like motion that he has should be interpreted with like a sort of like self-reflective meaning of his own like superiority to everything else. And then when it's not reflected upon, he's like has a super violent reaction. It's so good.
Like,
this is reminding me of like, this is why I'm recommending that what's it called?
Dead Ringers.
Dead Ringers, is because everybody is so completely neurotic and fucked up, and it's just brilliantly done. I mean, you're just seeing just the most neurotic, fucked up people, and just full naked display, and just like indulging just all the way in it, just like saturating, and it's just brilliant.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous in just like an Animal Planet way. And yeah, I'm assuming the artistry and the like the curated artistry is its own thing. And this is like taking it to a different place. But that is why I like reality TV. That really is a different place. But it's just like,
here we go.
Just like wild morons in the wild. It's just like, these are the most fixated people ever.
Well,
feeding on the just like the shittiest cheese ever that they're chasing with the most seriousness. Okay, did we finish up everybody's new most hated types?
Oh, yeah.
What did I say?
I said 371, and then we went off on a huge tangent about like Elon Musk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't know if I have a new one for 2024, like a genuine one, because I've, the usual suspects of 2, 6, and 7 have been covered.
Yeah, I think that's still mine. I think the Head Center is just mine in general.
Right. Sexual Social has been canceled for a while.
I think my Head Center is amazing, but I don't like anybody else's. I think the Head Center in general is just like, I should just be in charge of everyone's.
So I don't have any new hatred this year.
Very humble, 9.
Yeah, I'm not humble.
I think.
That's a thing I've given up for, I don't know when Lent is, but I've given up humility for Lent. I'm embracing my full.
Good. 7-fix approves.
What's the word? I should.
Hubris.
Is that the word? I don't
Cockiness.
Know. More honest
Cocky.
than that. Yeah,
Arrogant.
I guess. Yeah. My true glory, I guess we'll say.
Oh.
I'm accepting that now. Yeah. For
Not
Lent,
glory,
I've given
but
up
your true
fake
glory.
humility.
It's actually rightfully yours. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I agree with that. So, moving into that more, here's the next one, and I don't know how you guys are feeling. Okay, so the next one is, what is the most redeemed type, instinct, Enneagram, I don't know, whatever facet you want to look at? Is there anything through the year of 2024 from January to December? We still have a couple days, I guess. Is there anything that through this year has received some redemption?
Redemption. Ooh.
That's a great question.
That's a tough one to ask a bunch of 4-fixers because everything's just going down and getting worse.
Yeah.
So like something improved.
Yeah.
I like something a little bit more than I did when the year began.
I mean, mine is very easy. I can go first. I think at the start of this year, I had a very shallow view of the image center in general, especially as it relates to 3, my own image fix. And so I think that would very easily be my most redeemed type / element of the Enneagram. I'm seeing the image center is like much more important and potent and saturated, and I'm seeing 3 is much more, just courageous and glorious and beautiful than I was able to see it before.
That's a good point.
That's a really good one.
Mhm.
It's not totally clear if this is true, but I've definitely appreciated self-pres social more.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay.
like I've appreciated self-pres social more in terms of trying to like, it's its own version of trying to find what's real.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's trying to find what's like solid and unchangeable and like
Tangible.
deep
Mhm.
and like really deep in the earth. And sometimes it doesn't go deep enough to get into like the juicy hell realms or whatever. But it's like it's its own version of trying to find what's like solid, but it can stay to in a like material realm.
But it's also sustainable.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's a positive.
And so
like
there's
self-pres sexual is almost self-destructive.
Yeah.
Self-pres.
There's an echo to me of what I've discovered in self-pres social as echoing the depth that 4, I think, is trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, what's the root? And so, so I've appreciated, like, I've like most of my family is self-pres social, and I've had this reaction to people of that trifix or that stacking, but yeah, that's been my most redeemed this year.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I can vibe with that on a certain level, just from its overlap to 8. Emeka, I remember, especially at this last zone, you said something like, the body center is the truth. You know what I mean? Like, your conceptualization of what is happening or your sort of image identity on what's happening really is useless against like tangible reality of like what you actually did.
What are you doing? How are you responding to
What
it?
are you doing? How are you doing? Like, what is the truth of a situation is like the body center. Like, what's happening, that's the truth. No matter how you hold it, how you can project it, how whatever.
Which way the box
that seems
is
to
pointing
overlap with
in the
self-pres
photo.
social in a really strong way. What did you say?
Which way the box is pointing on in the photos with the couples?
That's true.
That's what you're doing. Yeah.
That's actually exactly what I was thinking of, David.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, David. Anyway, yeah. I can appreciate that from the self-pres social element.
I think what I appreciate is more this year. This is like the social angle of shallower waters are a great way to make deeper waters always available, if that makes any sense. And
it does, yeah.
Because it's just easier to connect over stuff that are lower stakes. And when you're connected, when you're in the pool, it's just easier to sort of like go down into more serious things. And so I think I've just appreciated more. I mean, there's just like, as a 4-fixer, there's ways that you can sort of disown these just like banal aspects of your being as like, this is not a way, this is not available, this is not something that I can connect with anybody on.
Or nobody's going to be interested in it.
Nobody's going to be. Yeah. But like to realize that, I mean, I still think about these things. I still want to talk about these things, and that can be an okay way to sort of start a connection. To start, that is easy, and it's like it doesn't have to be special. It doesn't have to be interesting all the time. It can just be just basic. Place. Yeah, just you know, we can talk about sports, which I can have some self-judgment around like there's nothing going on here, but like even something basic can be a fabric to or pathway or corridor to something actually more interesting. Like
it's like a foundation laying for something more. It's like laying a durable foundation that can handle more intensity in the future.
Or it's like both people already being in the swimming pool wet as opposed to having to always breach that, oh shit, I don't want to get wet.
Yeah, it's even just the concept of small talk, for example, where people meet at the water cooler at work, which is like, oh, we're not talking about anything. or even like the popularity of a show like the Seinfeld show, where their show is about nothing, but there's something really powerful about people talking about nothing.
Yeah,
where
just being in life together.
Just coexisting in stuff that's not that important, where because it's not a big deal, you can actually input more actual material with low stakes, because there's less of like, oh, this is my personal thing, or this is the thing that I hold. It's just, we can talk about something that doesn't matter, and because it's not really colored or articulated, you can articulate yourself through something that's not that of a big deal. And so it sounds
like trust is what it sounds like. It sounds like low stakes social creates trust that you can then open up in.
Exactly. Yeah. Something there. Yeah. I've come to appreciate that more this year, just seeing the value in just low stakes topics or low stakes interests that can be like a good way to sort of ease yourself into stuff that's more significant or whatever, or even just for its own sake, just to, as a way to sort of exchange and share.
Yeah,
like
just have a resource available. Yeah.
So this might be interesting, not to be too divergent or like whatever me focused, but like as I've made very clear, like I've always connected to the character Wolverine forever. And then there was that Wolverine Deadpool movie that came out, and then in the mushroom trip that I had that you were on, Emeka, there was a whole thing around like brotherhood that came out, and then there was a whole thing around recognizing my own relationship to my own brother, and like the ambivalence around that based on his own issues and whatever. And so like, and then that's actually been like in therapy and stuff like that. That's been like a big thing. Like not just between me and my brother, but how I relate to men and other and like friends in general. It's been a big thing, and so it's like a sort of like a. I don't share my comic book love with anybody. I don't share my I don't talk about like a lot of, there's like all those nerd stereotypes of like talking about your geek things. Like I don't talk about it with anybody.
Right.
And then I shared a little bit about it in an altered state of consciousness, and it like actually led to, it was like a symbol that led to unpacking a whole bunch of deeper stuff. So like the low stakes stuff,
it's actually
it's important. And like this is how Alexandra's makes fun of five fixers of being like, what is this this thing that I'm looking at? It's a banana, and it's like it appears to be a fruit with a covering on it, and it's like it's a banana, and then
and I'll be like,
90 steps down the road,
like,
it's a banana, it's like. But the simple things can encode a thing that actually has meaning, and like that's why people talk.
Right. It's just such a basic thing to realize that we just talking about basic experiences can lead to something deeper.
Something I want to explore more is the relationship between identity and sexuality. And I feel like and I don't just mean in terms of like if you're gay, straight, bi, and your sexuality, or if you're trans or not sexuality, but like the place sexuality exists in relation to identity specifically. It's very different.
The image, or
not even the image, but like, part of the way sexuality functions is it attracts you to something that's going to give you as Alexandra said, a distinct before and after. Right? There's like a before this and an after, like a me before this and a me after this. And there's a lot of sexual experiences that we have that don't touch that before and after self. Like they don't transform or transfigure the sense of self. And a lot of people live in that level of sexuality. And so what is the like relationship between this transfiguration or this transformation or this before and after of self and sexuality? And how are they related? How do they function is a very interesting thing. Because like, we live in a very sexually permissive, open culture, but then sexual transgressions and violations we all recognize like inherently how horrible and violating they are. And there's a little bit of like a sexual schizophrenia in the culture at large about this thing of like how it's like so preciously tied to identity. Yeah, on one hand, like very open, but on the other hand, if you like all the stuff that like these like, you know, Joe Rogan comedians like react against, of like, oh, if you do the little bit of wrong thing, you get canceled. Whatever, all that shit. But it's like they're pointing to there's an element that they're pointing to of the like the sensitivity and precariousness of this energy and its relationship to identity and core of self that I think is not like fleshed out and articulated and expressed clearly enough, because it sort of is like, all right, everybody fucks, and then we have our identity, but everybody knows on some level that they're related, and it's like a very guarded relationship between identity and this level of sexuality, whether people consciously acknowledge it or not. Typically they acknowledge it in retrospect after a violation has occurred, and there's some way of trying to reconstitute self or identity or boundaries or what's in or what's out afterwards. But there's a level here of like transgression, and it gets at a very like very core human sexual level that I feel like is not really well acknowledged.
Yeah, man. What else happened this year? Let's see.
I just wrote new favorite type, new most hated type, most redeemed type. And then it was just like bullet points of what to cover, and we covered everything. So I guess if you have a new favorite type, but I really fucking doubt you guys do, aside from yourselves.
So I think
I think it's just newfound appreciation of myself.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
Mine is
the older I get, the more I'm like, wow, I'm
6 wing 5
perfect,
3
and everyone else is a mistake. Yeah. Okay. So John's really come on board finally. Yeah.
And the sweet
just naturally through no coercion.
Yeah, through no coercion.
No. Yeah, just
no
through his natural understanding
pressure.
of things. He's really come to the truth. Yeah. My new favorite
taking
type
advantage
is
of his unsophisticated
9-wing-1,
male emotional intelligence.
I've been in the void mostly, but then when I come out, I'm naively led to the tree of good and evil.
Naively, or is the truth just setting you free? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You got to teach me.
I will teach you. Yes, I'm here for the light. I am a warrior of the light.
One of the things I want to say that I do think is really great about what we're doing together is that in an era where things are kind of flattening the masculine and feminine polarities, that like I think we're handling that and going forward with that in a creative, interesting way that's not just like a fuck the woke agenda, but it's like understanding what these energies
I agree with that.
are and how they exist within eroticism and it's just understanding that. I mean, I do think that that psychology in general and triads and binaries, right? And binary is like a triad without third force, right? And like that masculine feminine is like a fundamental binary that is a triad. And the Enneagram is based on triads. It leads to 9, right? And so I feel like that through connecting Enneagram and the instincts and sexual instinct in particular, it's like we're finding a way that stuff is not that's like still enriching and deep, that is not afraid to be what it is amidst this sort of kind of shake up around culture's habitual ideas around sexuality and gender, that like lends these energies to be the like psychological forces they are without trying to like apologize for them in any way. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some conversations about this, how there's some cultural shakeup around masculinity and femininity, and I mean, in this day and age where people are sort of going back to traditional, in a sense, to sort of find some kind of stability around there, and so people having difficulty around like, how do you reconcile the modern world with these polarities that have always existed and honor those? Because I mean, obviously to be turned on, like you need polarity,
right?
But there's this also sense of like how do we update based on the current conditions that we are living in that don't require this sort of traditional gender roles and yada yada yada, but you still want that kind of polarity, and nobody has any real answers, but I feel like there's a way that the complexity of what we're working with has an answer for that. Like it's not one or the other, it's a way of engaging with something that's complex and finding like it's not like a binary, it's like a complex sort of like relationship with both, where you can kind of find a third force.
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
Now that might be an interesting thing to touch on, but I mean, people are generally looking for simple answers when it comes to that kind of stuff. And
yeah, that would be an extended topic.
I think it's just not that simple.
I mean, I think
a slow exploration, I think, would work though.
Whatever we're figuring out in our pod, like I don't know who will ever listen to our podcast, and I don't know who ever like really internalize this stuff, but I feel like articulating it's like maybe only 5 people ever like get what we're talking about, but I feel like it is an important like cell in the fetus of the world to come that is like the world is dying,
right,
and there's a new world to come, and I feel like the like level of even something as simple as like the way sexual energies need to be related to consciously versus an outer shell of sexual energies, just these like things are so basic and simple, but like people don't really get or understand. Maybe that there's some, I don't know, some way that what we're doing is like building towards something. Who knows? But maybe somebody will get it. But I do feel like it's all, I don't know. It's useful. I mean, I find it personally useful, but like it's kind of always hard to know, are these topics that we find really interesting, does anybody else give a fuck about? Who cares? Who knows, I guess. But like there's a way that we're diving in, and that it's just very, it still feels very important no matter if anybody else gets it or not.
Well, it's hard to know the impact when you're diving into topics that might be monumental for one really important person.
Right.
Because it's all it takes is like one smart person who really gets activated by the right idea that could, maybe that one person starts a podcast, and they're the person who can really translate it and blast it out in a really big way. But it's like, important ideas are important to us, and we're not that distinct or unique that there's always someone who is feeling and thinking similarly, and that's a big part of why our podcast has attracted the audience. Is like there's a lot of people who feel the way that we have about the Enneagram and just spirituality and understanding oneself, that this orientation is like exactly one of one. There's no other place that can do that. So I think at some point I recognize that like that's not necessarily our role to be the widely accepted or understood, but like the one that sort of weaponizes like the weirdos that are smart that can't find what we're doing anywhere, but absolutely need it.
Also, I think there's like a first adapters thing that's like 3 to 5% are the people that will catch on to the new thing that eventually everybody's doing,
right?
And so you never know, maybe we're not at 3% of the entire Enneagram community, but maybe we get to at least that point at some, or we affect something that becomes that percentage or something like that.
Remember, there was a point where we found out that people were having study groups meetings every week to discuss our episodes. I mean, some people really know that what we're doing is special and are treating it as such. For me, my perspective, it's almost like creating oxygen for yourself. And it's great if people out there are responding to it, but it's like, I'm creating from the perspective of I need this.
Right. Exactly.
Like this is something I would do anyway.
Right. It's just like playing music. Like I need to play a certain amount of music. Right.
It's just cool to see
it or not.
It's just cool when, you know, other people benefit and see the ripple effects, but like I would do this anyway.
Right. Well, fellas.
Yeah, I'm starting to fade
it's been
here.
An incredible conversation.
4 hours.
More than I thought it would go,
Yeah, for real.
but it's been 4 hours, and I love you, but
Gotta go.
I'm recognizing I'm drained.
I love you, but I've chosen darkness. Yeah.
The intro course, plug that. Intro course, Josh and I, enneagramschool.com. Buy my book. I want to do an Enneagram kind of like workshop, retreat, something or other in New York City in early March, potentially, or April. I think it was early April. Josh and I decided on.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna work with Essence and Enneagram mats, like put a map of the Enneagram as a map, like on the floor, and like using breath work and stuff to unlock stuff that would seem like your relationship to the points on the Enneagram and the whole symbol in a way that is enriching and vibrant and deeper than you would expect. So that's the thing we're planning on.
That'll be interesting.
Other thing to plug, Alexandra's amazingness.
Just want to plug Alexandra.
I thought that didn't need any
Thank
plugging.
you.
But, okay.
That's right, Emeka.
Yeah.
He's finally catching on. Yes, that doesn't need to be plugged, but I will always welcome that as a plug. You know, if people need a reminder, they need a reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people need to be pointed to greatness, and I'm willing to offer that to people.
As because my social zone stem is 1-2, which is sexual social. Again, it's Messiah energy, so I'm being humble and putting you on stage, but that's what a Messiah would do. So you know, there's kind of
so much
non-humility at the same time.
No, people need me. They
Alexandra
do.
is
They
almost
need
like the
me.
Mary Magdalene of David's Jesus.
That's so true.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
A sinner,
warmth
whereas
and
I am
insight and
the
entertainment
Messiah.
and dazzle,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. You know,
Maybe you guys will
I love
send,
the audience.
maybe you guys will eventually ascend to the point where you don't need the affirmation. You can just bask in knowing that you're already there.
Just it's a reality. That's
No,
just
I don't
a-
need to be some just animal sort of pig thing.
Yeah.
I like my
You like
ascendance,
words?
you know.
I'm
Words
just
of
a monk.
affirmation.
Yeah, I don't
another
know. You
dimension.
can just eat that slop if you need to.
I've already
but
had lifetimes
I've
of
ascended
adoration.
beyond that.
I'm just existing, already knowing
Nah.
that I've had
Nah.
lifetimes.
Yeah, who's
You're
gonna
tethered
out
to the earth
911 each other?
between David and I. That's
Yeah,
a,
I've been
that's a
the-
worthy
I've-
competition.
I've been to
We should do
Messiah
that.
so many times. It's
We're
like,
both
okay,
too
whatever.
apathetic. I'll fight Emeka until the end of time. But David, nah, forget it. You know, that's not.
You don't want to
That's
crucify.
You know, when you're so superior, you're
Well,
just
that's
like,
not
let
what
me
I
come
was
down and help these
suggesting.
little younglings come up a little bit to where I'm at.
Was there just an internet glitch? I just heard some random noise. Did anyone else hear that?
They heard.
All right.
Enjoy your
I'm
free
gonna
little
go.
drink,
I love you
Emeka.
guys.
Love you guys.
It's been a great year. I'm gonna
Very
peace
much.
out.
Yeah,
You guys keep
good
talking. I love you. Goodbye.
Good night.
Good night.
I'll see you guys.
Good night, guys.
All right.
Love you guys.
Later. Bye.